Chapter 2102. Heavenly Music Sect. The Heavenly Music Sect was a supreme existence and was also the sect's last resort. The Heavenly Music Sect had a rule that they couldn't use the Heavenly Music Array unless they had no other choice. But the result? They had no other choice. Shen Ting's deterrence was right there. Unless they didn't want to live anymore, they had to activate the Heavenly Music Array to lock onto Longao's position. If they couldn't lock onto him, they would be finished. The two of them were depressed to the extreme. They were implicated. The current Hao Chen felt very helpless. Sometimes it wasn't a good thing to overestimate yourself. He had been prepared to deal with Longao to curry favor with the heaven-devouring empire. He didn't expect that before he could do anything, Longao had already made his move. One might be able to survive a heavenly disaster, but one couldn't survive a self-inflicted disaster. The Heavenly Music Array was activated instantly. The entire Heavenly Music Sect was enveloped by a mysterious and strange aura. Ambushes were coming from all directions. At the peak of the clouds in the 9 heavens, Shen Ting sensed the super array of the Heavenly Sun Sect, and his expression changed slightly. It seems like Tian Yin was already a sky boundary master back then. It's a pity that he died in the end. Otherwise, if we could recruit him into the Empire, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. A sky boundary master was far more valuable than any sky boundary master. Even a sky boundary king couldn't compare. It was just that Tian Yin had died for no reason back then. It was very puzzling. Shen Ting and the others knew that with Tian Yin's absolute array, unless a titled world king attacked, even a sky boundary king might not be able to kill Tian Yin. Shen He thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty, some cultivators are willing to self-detonate and send their primordial spirit into reincarnation in order to obtain greater opportunities. Tian Yin's death back then is a mystery." "You mean to say that Tian Yin didn't die?" "Yes." Shen Ting nodded. "If Tian Yin really didn't die, then no matter what price he had to pay, he had to recruit him." Shen Ting and the others were also very nervous. Even they weren't sure if the Heavenly Music Array could lock onto Longao's position. If they couldn't lock onto him, it would be almost impossible to find Longao's tracks. He didn't rush him. Time trickled by. Hao Chen and Hao Feng were more nervous than anyone else, because the two of them were unable to confirm if the sect's super grand formation was able to lock onto Longao's tracks. "Master, I still can't lock onto it." His face was very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. "Grand Elder, if we can't lock onto Longao's location, we'll split up. Remember, if you get the chance, leave the devouring heaven plane immediately and never come back." The two of them were almost certain. If they couldn't lock onto Longao's position, the two of them would definitely die. Taking a step back, even if they were lucky enough to lock onto Longao's position, it was still unknown whether they would fall in the future. Would Shen Ting allow 2 traitors to live? In the Dragon Seal space, sensing the array's aura constantly searching for him, Longao was shocked. The array set up by an array master of the Starry Sky realm was indeed extraordinary. It far surpassed his master's array. It seemed like the founder of the Heaven Music Sect wasn't ordinary at all. "Long Fu, can the array lock onto the Dragon Seal's position?" No. Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He dared to go against the heaven-devouring empire and constantly provoke them and Shen Ting because of the Dragon Seal. If the Dragon Seal couldn't avoid being locked onto by the array, then things would be troublesome. "Master, things aren't as simple as you think. What's going on?" Longao rarely saw Long Fu with such an expression. "Was there something wrong?" "Master, if it's just an array, we can choose to ignore it. But from what I sensed just now, there's a titled World King Array Master in the Heaven Music Sect. If this person were to take action, although I'm not sure if he can lock onto our position, he'll definitely be able to suppress us. This Array Master's level has already reached the level of a titled World King. F***ck Lin Fan cursed in his heart. Longao had already guessed who this super array master that Long Fu was talking about was. If he wasn't wrong, this super array master should be the legendary Heaven Music Array Master. He was also the Master Array Master of the Starry Sky world. Who would have thought that after so many years, not only did Heaven Music not die, but he even made continuous breakthroughs to become a Starry Sky World King Array Master and a titled World King Array Master. Longao was very clear what a titled World King Array Master meant. Among the titled World Kings, Heaven Music was an invincible existence. Long Fu, we still don't know if Heaven Music is a friend or foe. With Heaven Music's level and strength, he wouldn't even put the heaven-devouring empire in his eyes. Longao knew that unless the devouring Heaven Empire had a titled World King Array Master, no one would be a match for Tianyin in the tens of thousands of domains, even in the vast universe. Master, you have to be careful. I can clearly sense that this titled World King Array Master has already locked onto our position. Just as the two of them were speaking, an unparalleled aura suddenly erupted from the Heaven Music Array and locked onto the Dragon Seal. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon Seal appeared in everyone's sight. It was a palm-sized black seal with a lifelike dragon carved on it. Looking at the small black seal in the air, Shun Ting and the others were overjoyed. However, they were still shocked. With such a small black seal, Longao was able to escape from their lock-on. It was truly unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Shenting's face was filled with greed. Longao's small black seal was extremely powerful. If they could obtain the small black seal, wouldn't they be like tigers that had grown wings? Before Shenting could make a move, Hao Chen and Hao Feng, who were in the array, suddenly appeared in the sky and both of them knelt down. What's wrong with these two? Are they sick in the head? Looking at the two of them kneeling down, Shun Ting and the others were curious. They did not know what was wrong with Hao Chen and Hao Feng. Why would they kneel down for no reason? Could it be? Shun Ting and the others seemed to have thought of something as their faces changed. Disciple Hao Chen welcomes Old Master. Disciple Hao Feng welcomes Old Master. Ha ha ha. Rise. To think that the cultivation state that I couldn't break through for millions of years would be activated by you guys today. Heaven is on my side. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 2103. Tianyin appeared. Titled World King? The 13 of them were all titled World King powerhouses, so they could naturally sense Tianyin's aura. After disappearing for over 1,000,000 years, they didn't expect that Tianyin, who was only a Starry Sky World King, would actually become a true titled World King. Hao Chen and Hao Feng also sensed the aura of their old ancestor. The two of them were pleasantly surprised. With their old ancestor's timely appearance, whether or not they could lock onto Longao's position, their lives would be saved. Tianyin, after 1,000,000 years of seclusion, he had finally broken through from a Starry Sky World King to a peak Starry Sky World King. He was only a step away from becoming a titled World King. But this step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For over 10,000 years, Tianyin hadn't been able to break through. He never imagined that his two juniors would suddenly activate a Starry Sky World King array formation that he had laid down 1,000,000 years ago, helping him break through to the titled World King realm. As his cultivation broke through to the titled World King realm, his array formation skills also broke through. From a Starry Sky World King Array Master, he directly became a titled World King Array Master. Tianyin was completely confident that he was an invincible existence. Your Majesty, we haven't seen each other in many years. How have you been? Chen Ting smiled, not suggesting anything. Tianyin, congratulations on breaking through to the titled World King realm. Strike while the iron is hot. Chen Ting was an ambitious and ruthless character of his generation. He naturally knew what was most beneficial to him. He smiled and said, Tianyin, I now invite you to join the Empire. Not only can you become an elder, but you can also obtain all the resources of the Empire. How about it? All the resources. This temptation was too great. If it were anyone else, they would simply be unable to resist. As for Tianyin? Tianyin smiled and said, Your Majesty, there's no hurry. Let me help you deal with this person first. Tianyin had already used the help of an array master. Not only did he lock onto the dragon's seal, but he even made it appear. Just this alone was enough to prove how strong Tianyin's array formation skills were. Why don't you come out and meet me? Tianyin didn't attack. In the next second, Longao instantly appeared and the dragon's seal vanished without a trace. You are truly courageous, challenging the Empire alone. Longao, do you really think you can hide the truth from the masses? If it were anyone else, they definitely wouldn't dare to do this. But Tianyin's current status and strength was different. Even if Chernting was unhappy, he could only endure it. It wasn't my intention. This was the truth. From the very beginning, Longao had never intended to be enemies with the heaven-devouring empire or the Qiankuan sect. However, regardless of whether it was the Qiankuan sect or the heaven-devouring empire, they were too despicable. Your spatial artifact doesn't seem to be able to help you. Not necessarily. Longao feared this heaven's eye. As expected of a titled World King Array Master, he was actually able to lock onto the dragon seal and force it to appear. Ever since he obtained the dragon seal, such a thing had never happened before. Ha ha, this old man has never seen such an arrogant brat like you in so many years. Longao, I admire you very much. As long as you surrender, I can guarantee that you will not die. Tianyin, you. Shenting waved his hand to stop Shenhe. Chernting was also unhappy. Tianyin's actions were simply not putting him in his eyes. If he didn't put the Empire in his eyes, where was his face? However, under such circumstances, he was unwilling to make another strong enemy. Tianyin was different from others. If he was just a titled world king, even if it was troublesome, he believed that with the Empire's strength, they could still kill him. But the result? Not only did Tianyin break through to the titled World King realm, he even became a titled World King Array Master. What kind of concept was this? Although Chernting wasn't willing to admit it, he knew that even if the 13 of them joined forces, they might not be able to kill Tianyin. The power of a titled World King Array Master was simply too great. Longao, what do you think? What if I don't agree? Tianyin wasn't simple. Longao was very clear that Tianyin had only reached the titled World King realm after several hundred years of seclusion. This in itself showed that Tianyin's talent was extremely powerful. Under such circumstances, Tianyin didn't even put Chernting in his eyes. If you don't agree, it's fine. I can only kill you. You think you can? Tianyin laughed. Hao Chen and Hao Feng also laughed. Even Chernting and the others laughed. With Tianyin's array formation skills and strength, killing Longao would only take a few minutes. Longao's spatial divine tool that he relied on was also useless at this time. In this situation, Longao actually dared to be so impudent. He really didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Tianyin, how about you and I make a deal? Let's hear it. Tianyin was also curious. He didn't know what sort of deal Longao wanted to make with him. It's very simple. As long as you can kill Chernting and the others, I will tell you how to find the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Ah! Hearing the words Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, everyone was stunned. This was because they all knew what a Primal Chaos Stone Tablet meant. In the vast starry skies, there were a total of 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, all of which were owned by the Starry Skies rulers. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to obtain a Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. However, the current situation was different. In the past, the 12 Starry Skies rulers had all fallen in battle, and the 12 primal chaos stone tablets had been scattered throughout the starry skies. To this day, no one had been able to find a single primal chaos stone tablet. Legend had it that anyone who could obtain a primal chaos stone tablet could become the starry skies ruler. Do you think I'll believe you? Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Tianyin, you should know whether I'm telling the truth or not. If you don't want to, I'm sure many people will be interested. Tianyin didn't say anything. He could clearly sense that Longao didn't seem to be lying. Could it be true? Chen Ting and the others' expressions changed again and again. If Longao really did know about the primal chaos stone tablets, then Longao couldn't die. When the time came, they could search his soul and obtain the secrets of the primal chaos stone tablet. Your Majesty, what do you think I should do now? Tianyin looked at Chen Ting with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Tianyin was very clear that even if he joined the heaven-devouring empire, he would at most be an elder. He wouldn't be able to achieve anything. If he could find the primal chaos stone tablets, not to mention establishing an empire, even dominating the entire starry skies would be a matter of minutes. It turned out that Tianyin's ambition was too great. Before Longao's primal chaos stone tablets, he had been thinking about how to establish an empire. He had even thought of a name for the empire, Tianyin Empire. No matter what, Tianyin couldn't join the heaven-devouring empire. When Tianyin asked this question, Chen Ting already knew what Tianyin meant. However, his expression didn't change at all. After all, he was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. Chapter 2104. Tianyin, what do you want to do? Shin Chen asked. Chen Ting was very unhappy in his heart. If it weren't for Tianyin's powerful strength, he believed that he would have taken action long ago. Why would he wait until now? Tianyin smiled. Tianyin looked at Longao in front of him and said with a smile, Longao, if I agree with you, wouldn't I become His Majesty's enemy? Do you think I'm that stupid? The heaven-devouring empire's strength was there for all to see. Unless there was water in one's head, who would dare to provoke the heaven-devouring empire? Even Tianyin, who had broken through to the titled World King realm, wouldn't dare to provoke the heaven-devouring empire. However, the primal chaos stone tablets were too tempting. If he could obtain the primal chaos stone tablets, wouldn't he be able to become the ruler of space in the future? 5 elements primal chaos stone tablet, devouring primal chaos stone tablet, lightning primal chaos stone tablet, space primal chaos stone tablet, time primal chaos stone tablet, destruction primal chaos stone tablet, reincarnation primal chaos stone tablet, slaughter primal chaos stone tablet, divine divination primal chaos stone tablet, sword primal chaos stone tablet, immortal tyrant body primal chaos stone tablet, darkness primal chaos stone tablet. Longao suddenly mentioned the 12 primal chaos stone tablet. What did he mean by that? The 12 primal chaos stone tablets represented the 12 different powers. This was something everyone knew. Tianyin, I can tell you clearly that I know the location of the devouring primal chaos stone tablet. Longao sounded more and more serious. On one side was the primal chaos stone tablet, on the other was the heaven-devouring empire. How should he choose? Longao, if I kill you and search your soul, do you think it's okay? Tianyin smiled faintly. Tianyin always had an indifferent expression. Whether it was on the martial heaven continent or in the starry sky, soul scouring was a despicable thing. However, in the starry sky the strong were revered. Even if Tianyin performed a soul search, who would dare say anything? Soul searching. Longao didn't care at all. He smiled and said, Why don't you try? The calmer Longao was, the more uncertain Tianyin and the others were. For a moment the scene fell into silence. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Spiritual sense transmission. Let's wait and see. Right now, Tianyin is no longer under our control. If he dares to choose Longao, kill him without mercy. Although Tian was a powerful titled World King Array Master, Shen Ting was still confident that he could kill him in one strike. The strength of the heaven-devouring empire was not to be underestimated. Longao, as long as you hand over the primal chaos stone tablet, I can let you leave. Tian, aren't you going a little overboard? He couldn't take it anymore. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, Shen Ting had already endured it for a long time. Shen Ting's status was the highest here, yet Tian did not put Shen Ting in his eyes. How could Tian not feel angry? He smiled. Your Majesty, I'm not from the heaven-devouring empire. Everything I do is for the Heaven Cord sect. It has nothing to do with you. What do you think? Of course that was the case. Even so, it was impossible for Shen Ting to admit it. It was just a joke. If they let Longao go, the heaven-devouring empire would lose face. Where would he put his face? As for the primal chaos stone tablet, he couldn't let Tian have it either. Shen Ting had already made up his mind. If he had no other choice, he wouldn't do anything to Tian. Tian, it seems like you're determined to go against the empire. I wouldn't dare. Tian laughed and said, Your Majesty, I don't want to be enemies with the empire. At the same time, I hope that the empire will not restrict my freedom. I'm sorry about your suggestion. Tian's meaning was clear. He had rejected Shen Ting. He refused to join the heaven-devouring empire. Shen Ting's face was dark and ugly. Please. No matter what, this was the Heaven Cord sect and not the heaven-devouring empire. Was he going to leave just like that? If he left just like that, he would lose all his face. You're not willing to leave? Killing intent surged out of Tian as he sneered. I've already set up a formation around the Heaven Cord sect. If you don't leave, I won't be polite. Tian, we will settle this score with you one day. They had no choice. Even if they didn't want to leave, they had to leave the Heaven Cord sect first. At the end of the day, Shen Ting and the rest were still afraid of Tian. If it was just a titled world king, Tian would definitely die. However, the situation was different now. Tian wasn't just a titled world king. He was also a titled world king array master. He wouldn't have any problem fighting against 10 titled world kings. Apart from that, Shen Ting and the others didn't know if there were any powerful array masters in the heavenly music sect. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they were to fail miserably, wouldn't they be going for wool and coming home shorn? Shen Ting and the rest didn't stop. They left as soon as they said they would. In just a short while, they had disappeared without a trace. Seeing them leave, Tian smiled and said, Longao, since Shen Ting and the rest have left, why don't we sit down and have a good talk? That's what I was thinking. Both Shen Ting and Tian weren't simple, especially Tian. There was no need to talk about his array skills. The four returned to the main hall and sat down. Longao, why don't you consider my offer? As long as you hand over the primal chaos stone tablet, you can leave this place. In the future, I will also help you resist the heaven-devouring empire. What do you think? Tian shook his head. Longao smiled and said, Tian, I discovered the heaven-devouring primal chaos stone tablet by accident. After so many years, I have never mentioned it to anyone. My meaning is clear. As long as you help me kill Shen Ting and the rest, as well as Ancestor Heaven and Earth and Feng Xia, I will hand over the primal chaos stone tablet to you. I will do as I say. Otherwise, don't even think about getting it. He ignored Tian. Before Tian could speak, Longao continued, Tian, don't think that just because you can lock onto a spatial artifact that you have it in your hands. I can tell you clearly that as long as I want to leave, I can do so at any time. Do you believe me? Seeing how calm Longao was, Tian and the rest were wary. Could it be that Longao was so fearless because he had something to rely on? Tian smiled and said, Longao, if you can leave under my watch, I will reconsider this matter. What do you think? All right. Just as he finished speaking, Longao's figure had already disappeared from where he stood. They watched helplessly as the other party still left. The three of them were a little dumbfounded. They had seen powerful spatial divine tools before, but it was the first time they had seen such a strange and powerful spatial divine tool. It was definitely unrealistic to say that they were not greedy. After a short moment of shock, Tian-Yin smiled confidently and said, "I want to see how you can leave Heaven Music Sect under my watch. Longao, I hope you won't disappoint me." Chapter 2105. Tian-Yin had absolute confidence in his array formation. If he could lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact before, he could do the same now. Tian-Yin sealed the entire hall with his aura and began to lock onto the opponent. There was no movement. What was going on? Tian-Yin was shocked. According to his calculations, it shouldn't be difficult for him to lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact. But now? Within the dragon seal space. Long Fu, Tian-Yin can't lock onto our position? Even Longao wasn't confident. Tian-Yin had indeed locked onto his dragon seal with the help of his array formation. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Long Fu smiled. Tian-Yin might be a titled World King Array Master, but he just broke through. I was careless previously. It's almost impossible for him to lock onto the dragon seal. So that was the case. Longao let out a long sigh of relief. If that was the case, he didn't need to fear Tian-Yin at all. Tian-Yin, weren't you confident that you could lock onto my position? Why aren't you moving? Tian-Yin, who was focusing on locking onto the spatial artifact, suddenly heard the voices around him. His expression changed again and again, becoming extremely gloomy. He couldn't figure out how his opponent had done it. Old Ancestor, Longao used his spatial artifact to escape from the joint attack of three titled World Kings. Hao Chen did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately recounted everything that had happened in full detail. After listening, Tian-Yin's expression became even gloomier. Longao's spatial artifact was actually so powerful. No wonder Longao dared to provoke him, Shunting, and even the entire heaven-devouring empire. Longao, I can consider the conditions you just mentioned. He had already lost if he couldn't lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact. He had thought that he would be able to move unhindered in the vast universe after becoming a titled World King or even a titled World King Array Master. He never imagined that he would be helpless against a mere starry sky region royal capital. What a tragedy! Helpless, he could only choose to compromise. Tian-Yin, do you think I will believe you? Hao Chen, who had been silent all this time, said angrily, Longao, don't be so shameless. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to the ancestor like that? If it was the previous Hao Chen, would he dare to do this? With Tian-Yin as a backer, Hao Chen's confidence also instantly soared considerably. A dog relying on its master's power to bully others. Longao, you. He waved his hand and stopped Hao Chen from continuing. Longao, there is no grudge between us. There is no need to fight to the death. What do you think? That's right. As soon as his voice fell, Longao's figure appeared instantly. It seems that you are very confident in yourself. Tian-Yin, I can come and go at any time. Neither you nor Shunting can stop me. Do you think I'm afraid of you? This was the truth. It was also because of this that Tian-Yin didn't make a move. He couldn't guarantee that he would be able to kill Shunting with a single strike. If he couldn't kill Shunting, not only would he not be able to obtain the Primal Chaos Tablet, but he would also be in big trouble. Longao, it's impossible to deal with Shunting. You should know how strong the heaven-devouring empire is. Just me? He knew his own limit. As the saying goes, 2 fists can't fight 4 hands. Even if he was a titled world king, he wouldn't be able to shake the heaven-devouring empire. The fact that the heaven-devouring empire was able to stand tall in the vast universe for so many years already proved how strong they were. Only a fool would go against the heaven-devouring empire for the sake of a non-existent primal chaos tablet. I believe I don't need to explain what the primal chaos tablet means. Tianyin, even if you are a titled world king, you won't be able to dominate the vast universe. If you can obtain the primal chaos tablet, the concept will be completely different. How could Tianyin not be aware of this? Longao, I'm very curious. Since you know the location of the primal chaos tablet, why don't you refine it yourself? This was also what Tianyin couldn't figure out. There was no need to mention the temptation of the primal chaos tablet. He believed that no one could resist it. After all, according to the legends, as long as a cultivator of the universe could obtain a primal chaos tablet, they would have a chance to become a ruler of the universe. He didn't believe that Longao could ignore the primal chaos tablet. Longao smiled. To be honest, of course I want to obtain the primal chaos tablet. I can't resist the temptation of becoming a ruler of the universe, but I also know my limits. What did he mean? Tianyin and the others were very curious. They didn't know what Longao meant. What did he mean by knowing his limits? I've already said that the primal chaos stone tablet I encountered was the devouring primal chaos stone tablet of the 12. Previously, when I tried to touch it, I was nearly swallowed by the devouring primal chaos stone tablet. Luckily, I had a life-saving move. Although Longao did not finish his words, the meaning in his words was already very clear. So that was how it was. Tianyin didn't have the slightest doubt. The 12 primal chaos tablets were super existences in the vast universe. It would be strange if they didn't devour it. Devouring the primal chaos tablet was meaningless. The power it possessed was definitely devouring. Longao was lucky to be able to withdraw in time and avoid being devoured. Longao, other than dealing with Shinting and the heaven-devouring empire, you can give me any conditions. As long as it's something I can do, I won't refuse. The temptation of the primal chaos tablet was too great. Although Tianyin didn't show it on the surface, he was already very excited. He couldn't wait to get the tablet and refine it. If he could refine it and become a ruler of the universe, not to mention the heaven-devouring empire, he could even ignore all the other empires combined. He couldn't wait. In that case, I'll give you a new condition. If you still don't agree, it means that you're not sincere at all. If that's the case, our conversation ends here. Tianyin didn't say anything because he didn't know what to say. He didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling. He didn't know what Longao would give him. He couldn't possibly ask him to kill himself, right? If he really wanted to kill himself, he wouldn't agree even if he didn't want the primal chaos tablet. As if he could guess what Tianyin was thinking, Longao smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't ask you to kill yourself. My condition is actually very simple. As long as you and the Heaven Music sect submit to me, I'll tell you the location of the primal chaos tablet." Before Tianyin could say anything, Longao continued, "In order to prevent you from going back on your words, it's best if you can swear a blood oath. My condition isn't too much, right?" This condition wasn't too much. Chapter 2106. Anger. In Tianyin's eyes, Longao was clearly toying with him. "Longao, do you think I'll agree?" "Yes." Longao smiled and continued, "I don't need to explain the value of the primal chaos stone tablet. If you can obtain it, you'll have a chance to become a ruler of the universe. Under such circumstances, will you not agree?" Although he said so, he didn't think so in his heart. Longao was 100% sure that Tianyin wouldn't agree, even with the temptation of the primal chaos stone tablet. As expected. "Longao, if I kill you and search your soul, do you think I'll be able to obtain the primal chaos stone tablet? Let's try." As soon as he finished speaking, Longao's figure disappeared. He sighed deeply. This kid isn't simple. He felt helpless. He originally thought that he could use the array to lock onto Longao's location, but he never imagined that Longao's spatial artifact would be so powerful that he couldn't lock onto it. If that was the case, it would be impossible for him to kill Longao. He finally understood why Shin-Ting couldn't do anything about Longao's provocation of the heaven-devouring empire. In a secluded courtyard. Everywhere they went, Longao would buy a courtyard. After a few days of refining, Haifeng's cultivation base smoothly broke through from Universe Territory Ancestor to Universe Territory Lord. Brother Long, you really want to establish an empire? Hearing Longao's words, both Haifeng and Spray of Plum Blossom were dumbfounded. Such a thing had never happened in the universe for countless years. Establishing an empire wasn't like casually building a house. You could build it whenever you wanted. The two of them were well aware of how difficult it was to establish an empire. Haifeng said helplessly, Brother Long, I know what you mean, but establishing an empire isn't easy. Even if you want to establish one, the other empires and powers won't acknowledge it. What's the point of establishing an empire then? I don't need anyone to acknowledge it. Brother Long, according to the rules of the universe, if you want to establish an empire, you must first have a titled world king overseeing it. Moreover, you must be able to rule over thousands of worlds. Neither of these two conditions could be omitted. For the current Longao, whether it was a titled world king overseeing him or dominating several thousand worlds, it was impossible for him to do so. Longao smiled. The two of you do as I say. The two of them were well aware of Longao's character. Once he had decided on something, he would not change his mind. What else could the two of them do? The two of them could only sigh and agree. Brother Long, what are you going to name the empire? From their point of view, casually establishing an empire was like child's play. They would only be able to fantasize about it. Others would not acknowledge it and would even laugh at them. I haven't thought about it yet. They were so focused on building the empire that they didn't even think about giving it a name. At this moment, Black Wind said, Let's just call it the Longao Empire. Not bad. Longao shrugged helplessly and said, Whatever. There was nothing they could do to establish an empire. According to the current conditions, the three of them were not qualified to establish an empire. If this matter were to spread out, they would probably become a laughingstock. The establishment of the Longao Empire seemed to have grown wings as the news spread out rapidly. Longao established an empire? If it was the previous Longao, no one would know him. But now, Longao was known by everyone. It was a miracle that he could survive despite constantly provoking the heaven-devouring empire. Even so, what did Longao have to establish an empire? What qualifications did he have to establish an empire? Could it be that Longao had a titled world king behind him? Could it be that Longao could dominate several thousand worlds? There was no need to guess. Everyone knew that it was impossible for Longao to fulfill either of the two conditions. Since that was the case, did water enter Longao's brain? Why did he want to establish an empire? Heaven-devouring empire in a luxurious hall. Chun-Ting, who had also received the news, was not angry at all. Instead, he laughed. Not only Chun-Ting, but everyone else also laughed. They had seen shameless people before, but they had never seen such a shameless person. A mere starry sky domain emperor thought that he could cover the sky with one hand and be invincible under the heavens with a powerful spatial divine tool. He was just a frog at the bottom of a well. Your Majesty, Longao's sudden establishment of an empire is obviously against us. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, our reputation will be tarnished. How could Chun-Ting not know what Shin he meant? As long as Longao was alive, he would always be a problem. The empire's reputation had already been tarnished. After being provoked by Longao time and time again, the empire couldn't kill him. This was simply a disgrace. Let's put aside Longao's matter for now. Tian-Yin isn't dead, but he has broken through to the titled World King realm. Moreover, he has become a titled World King Array Master. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, we will also be in big trouble. In Chen Ting's view, Tian Yin's threat was far above Longao's. If Tian Yin continued to suppress the world, with Tian Yin's valiant strength and array formation, he believed that it wouldn't take many years for him to suppress thousands of worlds. With Tian Yin, a powerful titled World King Array Master overseeing the situation, establishing an empire would be a matter of minutes. Thinking of this, Chen Ting naturally chose to get rid of Tian Yin to prevent future troubles. Your Majesty, Tian Yin's situation is very troublesome. Even if we send out 2 titled World Kings, we might not be able to smoothly kill him. If he escapes and wants to deal with us, Shenzhua didn't continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Chen Ting's expression was very solemn. Tian Yin was indeed a big problem. What should he do? He had to kill him in one strike. He absolutely couldn't let Tian Yin escape. Otherwise, he would be letting a tiger return to the mountains. After thinking about it, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with Tian Yin. At this time, Shun He suddenly said, "Your Majesty, I have an idea. We can invite Tian Yin here." At that time, I don't believe that Tian Yin can fight against 100 people alone. At this point, this was the only way. Making a move in the empire was the safest and also the safest. Without any other choice, Chen Ting could only choose to agree. He nodded in agreement and said, "This matter is decided. The 2 of you go and make the arrangements. I will invite Tian Yin here tomorrow. This time we can only win and not lose." "Yes, Your Majesty." Shun He and Shenzhua naturally knew the seriousness of the matter. They didn't dare to delay in the slightest. They immediately turned and left to make arrangements for tomorrow. Chapter 2107. Heaven Music Sect. Having received Shen Ting's invitation, Tian Yin smirked coldly. "Old Master, I'm afraid Shen Ting must have an ulterior motive for inviting you this time around. It's best if you don't go." "Yes. Since I've not joined the heaven-devouring empire, Shen Ting will definitely not tolerate my presence. To think that he would resort to such despicable schemes to deal with me. How shameless!" Even though Tian Yin was confident in his own strength, he did not dare to head over casually. The might of the heaven-devouring empire was there for all to see. If he were unlucky and fell in the heaven-devouring empire, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. At the thought of this, from the very beginning, Tian Yin had no intention of heading over to the heaven-devouring empire. "That's right. How's Longao doing?" "Old Master, according to the news I've received, Longao has just established the Longao Empire." "Longao Empire?" He was shocked. Tian Yin nearly burst out laughing. He had seen shameless people before, but this was the first time he had seen someone this shameless. To think that a mere universal domain emperor would dare to establish an empire. Wasn't he afraid of being laughed at? In the vast universe, there were countless empires. The Longao Empire was probably the only one without an army. "You sure don't know your place. Tian Yin, you don't have to worry about whether or not I know my place. I can guarantee that Shen Ting will not let you off." The moment he said that, Longao's figure appeared. "Longao, I'm impressed by your courage." Even though they were unwilling to admit it, they were impressed by Longao's courage. Even with the support of a space weapon, would anyone else dare to step into the Heaven Music Sect so casually? Without a doubt, no one would dare to do so. "Tian Yin, how about we make a bet?" "Let's hear it." Looking at Longao with interest, Tian Yin did not know what Longao was up to. "I can bet that you'll fall within 3 months. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha." Tian Yin wasn't the only one. Even Hao Chen and Hao Feng were laughing maniacally. He would fall within 3 months. Why didn't he know about it? Although his strength wasn't enough to shake the entire heaven-devouring empire, Tian was still confident that no one could kill him. Even if there were 2 or 3 titled world kings, he would be able to block them with the help of the array. Longao, is there something wrong with your head? Tian would definitely not believe it. Longao smiled with an unconcerned expression and said, "We'll wait and see. I hope you can survive when the time comes." Longao didn't stay any longer, turning around and entering the dragon seal space. Tian did not try to stop them. He knew that he could not kill them, so why waste time? Tian Yin's rejection enraged Shenting. He clearly knew that Tian had already guessed his intentions, but he was still furious. This matter had already become a laughingstock. As the overlord of tens of thousands of realms, it was a great humiliation for Shenting to be unable to summon a person. Valley of 10,000 Swords Wan Tong, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes. He found Wan Jian in disbelief and got straight to the point. "Senior Wan Jian, I want to leave the Valley of 10,000 Swords." This was Wan Jian's territory. Even if Wan Tong wanted to leave, he had to inform Wan Jian first. Wan Jian was curious as to what was going on. "Wan Tong, what's going on? You just broke through, so you need a long time to stabilize your cultivation." It turned out that after this incident, Wan Tong's state of mind had undergone a transformation. He had finally broken through from a Starry Sky territory ancestor to a Starry Sky territory overlord. Wan Tong said anxiously, "Senior Wan Jian, I don't know what's going on. His Majesty actually wants to invite my master out of seclusion." Wan Jian naturally knew what Wan Tong's master meant. If it were anyone else, especially a Starry Sky territory ancestor, Shenting would have easily given up and killed them. Only Wan Tong was someone Shenting didn't dare to kill and seal in the Valley of 10,000 Swords. Outsiders might not know, but many people in the heaven-devouring empire knew the reason why His Majesty didn't dare to kill Wan Tong. It was because of Wan Tong's master that even Shenting didn't dare to act recklessly. Many years ago, Wan Tong's master, Bu Jing, had chosen to enter seclusion in hopes of breaking through to a higher realm. After so many years, Bu Jing hadn't appeared. It was obvious that he hadn't succeeded. Otherwise, he would have come out long ago. Wan Tong couldn't figure out the reason why Shenting wanted to invite his master out of seclusion. "Then you should leave first." Wan Jian also knew the severity of the situation. His Majesty wouldn't casually invite Bu Jing out of seclusion if there wasn't something important. Could it be that the empire was in danger? Bu Jingya was the seclusion grounds of the titled world king Bu Jing. It was also one of the forbidden grounds of the heaven-devouring empire. No one was allowed to enter without permission. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. "Your Majesty, what are you doing?" Wan Tong knew that his master was in seclusion to break through to a higher realm. If he was interrupted at this moment, wouldn't all his efforts be wasted? Shenting's face was filled with helplessness as he sighed deeply. At the side, he briefly recounted what had happened, including the fact that Tian had already broken through to become a titled world king. Shenting said helplessly, "Wan Tong, I know that Senior Bu Jing can break through at any moment. But other than him, I can't think of anyone else who can suppress Tian." Even though they were both titled World King Formation Masters, the difference between the two was obvious. However, one was a veteran titled World King Formation Master, while the other was one who had just broken through. Furthermore, Bu Jing was known as an invincible existence. It shouldn't be too difficult for him to kill Tian. In order to end this quickly, Shenting decided to invite Bu Jing out of seclusion. So that was the case. Wan Tong finally understood why Shenting was so anxious to invite his master out of seclusion. It was because the old master of Heaven Music sect had successfully broken through to become a titled World King Formation Master. "Senior Bu Jing, Shenting has something to discuss with you." Thunder boomed from Bujingya as dark clouds filled the skies. A series of lightning bolts as thick as an arm rained down like a meteor shower. Master is still one step away. Wantong sighed deeply. He knew that his master had not managed to break through after so many years of seclusion. Amidst the lightning, a figure flashed. Before the four of them could react, Bujing had appeared. Shenting, what's the matter? Bujing's face was cold. However, Shenting and the others could sense that he was displeased. But thinking about it, they understood. Anyone who was in seclusion would definitely be displeased. Chapter 2108. Bujing was a veteran titled World King, and he was also a veteran titled World King Array Master. Senior, this is what happened. Without the slightest hesitation, Chunting recounted Tianin's matter in detail. A titled World King Array Master? Bujing was a little surprised. He knew what a titled World King Array Master meant. It was no wonder Chunting had asked him to come out of seclusion. If Tian had really become a titled World King Array Master, it would be troublesome. Bring me there. Chunting was delighted. Wantong, come with me. Wantong sighed. He didn't say anything. He didn't have the right to interrupt the conversation between His Majesty and his master. Heavenly Insect. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Tian knew how strong the heaven-devouring empire was. Old ancestor, why don't we leave first? Hao Chen and Hao Feng were also worried. If the heaven-devouring empire insisted on dealing with them, how would they deal with them? Do you want to leave? As the voice sounded, 5 figures appeared at the same time. Shenting, Shenhe, Shenjue, Wantong, and Bujing. Senior Bujing. Tian ignored Shenting and the others. In his opinion, even if Shenting and the others were titled world kings, they wouldn't be able to deal with him. Only Bujing. As an array master, Tian knew what Bujing meant. Bujing was a legend. Tian, it seems like you still recognize me. Senior, you must be joking. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have become a titled World King Array Master. I will never forget Senior's kindness. Shenting and the others were shocked. They didn't think that there would be such a thing between the two. Tian, I'll give you a chance. Join the Empire and I'll take you in as my disciple. If it were anyone else who dared to say such a thing, Tian would have already slapped that person. What a joke. Tian was originally a titled World King Array Master, who would have the qualifications to become his master. However, Tian was overjoyed when he heard this. He said excitedly, "Thank you, Master. There was no killing. So simple?" Shenting and the rest were dumbfounded. However, it was still beneficial for Tian to join the devouring Heaven Empire. No matter what, Tian was still a titled World King Array Master. Colluding with each other is disgusting. Just as everyone was about to leave, a faintly discernible figure suddenly spread throughout the hall. He exclaimed in surprise. Bujing was very shocked because he didn't sense that there was actually someone in the hall. Who was it? Was he also a titled World King? Bujing was completely confident that even a titled World King wouldn't be able to hide from his aura. Just how had the other party done this? Longao, you really don't know what's good for you. How dare you behave so atrociously in front of Senior Bujing? Chunting didn't conceal anything and roughly told him everything about Longao. Chunting did not dare to imagine what gave Longao such great courage to actually dare to provoke Bujing. Starry Sky Domain Emperor? Bujing didn't seem to believe it because the Starry Sky Domain Emperor was no different from an ant in his eyes. As long as he wanted to, he could kill any Starry Sky Domain Emperor at any time. However, such a Starry Sky Domain Emperor who was at the mercy of others had repeatedly provoked the Empire and Shenting couldn't do anything about it. Wantong, is Longao your disciple? Yes. Wantong didn't seem to want others to know. He used his spiritual sense to tell Bujing that Longao was a talented array master. I see. Ao come out? Longao believed in Wan Tong very much. Although Wan Tong was not the strongest among the crowd, he had full confidence that Wan Tong would not let the crowd deal with him recklessly. Master. Ao this is my master, World King Bujing. He's also your martial ancestor. Come and greet your martial ancestor. Long Ao wasn't sure if this powerful World King Bujing was a friend or foe. However, with his master around, Long Ao bowed and said, Disciple greets martial ancestor Bujing. Wan Tong has a good eye. You're not bad. Long Ao, are you willing to join the empire? Chen Ting didn't feel good about it. However, since Bujing had said so, he didn't say anything. Although he was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, he didn't have the final say in many things. Moreover, with Bujing's strength and array skills, he would receive the best treatment wherever he went. Would Long Ao agree? Almost everyone could foresee that if Bujing personally invited them, not to mention Long Ao, they believed that no matter who it was, they would not hesitate to agree. Long Ao shook his head and said firmly, Thank you for your kind intentions, martial ancestor. The grudge between me and the heaven-devouring empire has reached a point where it won't end until one of us is dead. I have already established my own Long Ao empire. One day, I will lead my empire to flatten the heaven-devouring empire. One had to admit that Long Ao was indeed arrogant. Only he would dare to say such words. If it was anyone else, would they dare to do so? Was it even possible to shake the heaven-devouring empire? There was no need to talk about the strength of the heaven-devouring empire. Not to mention Long Ao, even the other empires wouldn't dare to act so presumptuously. Long Ao, how dare you? Long Ao, you're courting death? Shen He and Shen Zhuo were enraged. They had seen people who didn't care about their lives, but they had never seen such a reckless person. Just as the two of them were about to attack, Bujing waved his hand and smiled. He praised, Your courage is commendable. Long Ao, I also want to see how you're going to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. Why don't we make a bet? Let's hear it. Ao don't be impudent. Wan Tong was dumbfounded. He didn't expect his disciple to be so bold. Not only did he say such arrogant words, he even dared to provoke his master. It's fine. Bujing wasn't angry at all. It was strange. Everyone was curious. Based on Bujing's temper, if Long Ao dared to do such a thing, he would have already killed Long Ao. Why would he give Long Ao a chance to speak? Shun Ting had a bad premonition. He didn't say anything, but his eyes turned cold. Long Ao, let's make a bet in 100 years. If you can destroy the heaven-devouring empire within 100 years, I'll follow you in the future. How about it? What if I can't destroy the heaven-devouring empire within 100 years? Very simple. I don't want your life. I only want you to submit to the empire willingly. That's not too much, right? Little Nine has done his best. From tomorrow onwards, I will guarantee a minimum of 5 chapters. I will try my best to write as much as I can. This time, I will not make any promises. Everyone, please see Little Nine's sincerity. Brothers who support Little Nine, please bookmark the new book, Myriad Worlds God Emperor. If you have the ability, please send me a small tip. Little Nine sincerely thanks everyone. Chapter 2109. The Promise of 100 Years. Shen Ting and the others weren't fools. They could sense that Bujing was siding with Long Ao. But since things had already come to this, what else could they say? Although he was very unhappy, Shen Ting had full confidence in himself. Not to mention 100 years, even if it was 10,000 years, Long Ao wouldn't be able to shake the heaven-devouring empire. All right, I agree to the 100 years promise. He ignored Shen Ting and the others. Master, we'll meet again. Long Ao didn't stay any longer. Since he had agreed to the 100 years promise with Bujing, there wasn't much use for him to stay. With Bu Jing's deterrence, he believed that the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't do anything to him for the time being. Senior, there will be endless trouble if you let the tiger return to the mountain. Bu Jing laughed. Your Majesty, are you afraid? Shen Ting refused to admit it. In fact, he was more or less afraid of Longao. Don't make a move for 3 years. Bu Jing's meaning was clear. Shen Ting nodded. 3 years was just a blink of an eye for a cultivator. No matter how talented Longao was, it was impossible for him to break through to the titled World King realm in 3 years. If Longao could break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm in 3 years, it would be a good thing. Brother Long, the 100 years promise seems a little troublesome. In the courtyard, after listening to Longao's words, both Izzet Plum and Haifeng turned serious. 100 years was nothing to Longao. It was impossible for him to shake the heaven-devouring empire. They were helpless. They couldn't figure out why Longao would agree to the 100 years promise. I know. What do you two plan to do? Izzet Plum and Haifeng looked at each other. Haifeng said, Brother Long, although I've always thought that it was a mistake for you to establish the Longao Empire, since you've decided, I'll support you unconditionally. Izzet Plum smiled and said, Brother Long, if you don't mind, we'd like to be the pioneers of the empire. What do you think? Regarding the two people's meaning, how could Longao not know? He was very touched. Alright, in that case, let's find a plane first. Brother Long, what level of plane are you looking for to establish your empire? In the vast starry sky, planes stood in great numbers. Planes were divided into low-level planes, mid-level planes, and high-level planes. With the strength of the 3 of them, it was more than enough to occupy a mid-level or low-level plane. As for a high-level plane, it would be fine if there were no powerhouses overseeing it. However, if there were powerhouses overseeing it, things would be very troublesome. Low-level planes could not be filled with the power of the stars. In this way, low-level planes could be completely eliminated. I haven't decided yet. Why don't the 3 of us leave the devouring sky plane first and look around? If we find a suitable plane, we can establish an empire there. Establishing an empire was a must. If it was just him, Longao would definitely not be willing to establish an empire. After all, an empire would become a stumbling block for him and would not bring him any benefit. The 3 of them did not linger and quickly left the devouring sky plane. Just as Longao had guessed, the devouring sky empire did not try to kill the 3 of them after they left. It seemed like Bu Jing was a man of his word. The devouring sky empire's sphere of influence was huge. Tens of thousands of planes were under the devouring sky empire's control. In other words, the devouring sky empire was the overlord of this place. According to Ji and Haifeng, the devouring sky empire ruled tens of thousands of planes, and these planes were collectively known as a realm. Every empire occupied a realm. Realms were of different sizes. Large realms had hundreds of thousands of planes. Small realms only had a few thousand planes. The realm occupied by the devouring sky empire was not considered large, but it was definitely not small. Longao did not continue to linger in the realm occupied by the devouring sky empire. He knew that no matter which realm he established his empire in, he would be hunted down by the devouring sky empire. No matter what, this was the devouring sky empire's sphere of influence. It was very disadvantageous for him. Brother Long, there are countless realms in the vast universe. May I know which one you want to go to? Longao had not thought it through. His main purpose in entering the vast universe was to find Xiling and Bai Ling. However, he had no idea where the 2 of them were, let alone where to find them. At this moment, Ji seemed to have thought of something and said, Brother Long, no matter which realm we go to, as long as we establish an empire, we will not be tolerated by the empire. Why don't we choose a smaller realm? That way it will be more convenient for us. Ji, which realm do you think we should go to? Why don't we go to the Grand Cloud Empire? Back when I was only a Grade 1 Starry Sky cultivator, I had been cultivating in the Grand Cloud Empire. Grand Cloud Empire? He had never heard of it. However, to Longao, any empire was the same. This was his first time in the vast universe. He was unfamiliar with the place and people. Other than the Devouring Sky Empire, he had never heard of any other empire. Spray of Plum, can you tell me about the situation in Grand Cloud Empire? Iji Mei nodded and said, Grand Cloud Empire is considered very weak among the many empires in the starry sky. In the entire empire, there is only one titled World King. Moreover, he only rules over a few thousand worlds. If we go to Grand Cloud Empire, we might have a chance to rise. Alright, then let's head to Grand Cloud Empire. Since Longao could not figure out which starry sky empire to go to, he did not even think about it. He immediately chose the Grand Cloud Empire that Sprout Plum had mentioned. If they were to walk on foot, even with their strength and speed, it would take them at least several decades to reach Grand Cloud Plain from the Devouring Heaven Plain. It might even take them longer. However, none of them were foolish enough to walk on foot. The three of them could rely on teleportation portals to constantly teleport from the Devouring Heaven Plain to the Grand Cloud Empire's boundary. It would only take a few dozen days. In fact, the Sky-Devouring Realm had a huge teleportation formation. If they could use it, they would only need a day to reach there. But under such circumstances, how could they possibly use it? Just like that, the three of them used the teleportation formation to continuously teleport from one realm to another. The 100-year agreement between the Devouring Heaven Empire and Longao had already spread across many realms. Countless people were shocked. They did not know where Longao came from and what was going on with the Devouring Heaven Empire. Why would they make a 100-year agreement with Longao? In everyone's opinion, the Devouring Heaven Empire should have directly attacked and killed Longao. Now, Longao had become famous in the Devouring Realm. After all, very few people dared to provoke the Devouring Heaven Empire. P.S. The official update will start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. 5 chapters a day. I will update more when I have time. Chapter 21:10. In the vast starry sky, Grand Cloud Empire ruled over thousands of worlds. Legend has it that there was only one titled World King in Grand Cloud Empire. Longao and the other two finally arrived at a world in Grand Cloud Empire after dozens of days of teleportation. Even if it was just one world, there were still many worlds. As for how many worlds there were, even Grand Cloud Empire did not know. We can exclude the low-level world. As for the middle and high-level worlds, we should choose carefully. He agreed with what Haifeng said. After thinking for a while, Longao said, Don't underestimate Grand Cloud Empire. To be able to establish an empire and rule over thousands of worlds, it is definitely not simple. The vast starry sky was even more cruel than Sky Martial World. To be able to survive in such an environment, this was already a problem. Brother Long, I know what you mean. Although we will not provoke Grand Cloud Empire, as long as we establish our own empire, we will definitely attract trouble. This is something unavoidable. Longao nodded. Not to mention Grand Cloud Empire, even if it was him, he would not allow anyone to establish an empire in his territory. It was simply an insult to him. Do you two have any opinions? Longao had never been an arbitrary person. Brother Long, I have already discussed this matter with Ji Mei. Rashly announcing the establishment of our empire is a bit rash. With the current situation, there is no benefit for us. Longao did not speak, because the two of them had not finished speaking. Haifeng continued, The best choice now is to not announce the establishment of our empire. We will first develop our strength in secret. When the time is right, it won't be too late to announce it. At this point, the two remained silent. No matter what, the two of them were only suggesting. The one who really made the decision was Longao. If Longao insisted on announcing the establishment of the empire, the two of them would not have the slightest objection. The two of them had already decided to live and die together. Since things had already come to this, what choice did he have? Longao was very clear that the current situation was very unfavorable to him. What the two of them said was the most beneficial. After thinking about it, Longao finally nodded and said, "Let's do as you said. First, we'll find a plane and then build an empire. However, we won't make it public. Once we have enough power, we'll make the empire public." Hearing this, the two of them were overjoyed. In the following period of time, the three of them began to search for the plane that the empire had established. In the vast starry sky, there were 3 levels of planes: low-level planes, mid-level planes, and high-level planes. Low-level planes had been eliminated. In fact, according to the precursors of countless starry sky empires, no matter which empire it would undoubtedly be a high-level plane. There had never been a starry sky empire that chose a low-level or mid-level plane. However, to Longao, it didn't matter whether it was an intermediate or advanced realm. The current Longao had just been established, and it was still a newborn cub. The empire still had a long way to go. After an entire month of searching, Longao and the other two finally settled on a plane. Mid-level plane, Boyun Plain. Boyun Plain could be said to be a very weak mid-level plane. The entire plane was intertwined with clans and sections. There were at least hundreds of them. The strongest person in the most powerful sect was only a starry sky domain emperor. With the strength of Longao and the other two, destroying the sect and clan was simply a matter of minutes. In order to end the battle quickly and not leave any trouble for himself, Longao chose an iron fist policy. Those who refused to comply were killed without mercy. Black Wind and May were like 2 whirlwinds. Wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass grew. In a short 3 days, the two of them completely settled Boyun Plain and officially changed the plane to Soaring Dragon Empire, implying that the future Longao Empire could soar and rise in the vast starry sky. No one cared about the fall and rise of a plane at all, including the Grand Cloud Empire. There were countless planes. How could the Grand Cloud Empire take care of them all? Boyun Plain had completely disappeared from the Grand Cloud domain, and a new plane appeared, Soaring Dragon Plain. Soaring Dragon Plain. A new sect, Dragon Sect, appeared. Longao had already thought about this matter. First, he would establish Dragon Sect. With Dragon Sect as the center, he would slowly develop his forces. When the time was ripe, Dragon Sect would evolve into the Longao Empire. It was the best of both worlds. The establishment of Dragon Sect shocked countless people in Soaring Dragon Empire. A Starry Sky territory ancestor and a Starry Sky domain lord. With such super strength, how many people would be blind enough to resist Dragon Sect? Those who dared to resist were already killed. Dragon Sect's deterrence was not just for show. It was precisely because of the quick decision and the iron fist that the establishment of Dragon Sect was much less troublesome. All the forces chose to submit. Next, Dragon Sect began to recruit disciples. This was also the first step of Dragon Sect's establishment, and also the most difficult step. Longao had also thought about it. Dragon Sect would be the same as Sky Martial Continent, divided into Outer Sect, Inner Sect, and Core Sect. As long as one's talent and strength were on par, one could enter the Dragon Sect and become an Outer Sect disciple. As for becoming an Inner Sect disciple, one had to go through many rounds of selection. It wasn't just a matter of talent and strength. The most important thing was one's character and loyalty. Those were the most important things. As for the core disciples, the examination was even stricter. With the Dragon Sect's current strength, as well as the deterrence of Haifeng and Mei, many people were attracted to the Dragon Sect. Countless people came from all directions, at least a few 100,000 people flocked to the dragon sect. However, the number of people who could become dragon sect's outer sect disciples in the end was only about 50,000. From the 50,000 outer sect disciples, Longao personally chose 1,000 people to enter the inner sect and set a strict examination. No matter who it was, they could not walk behind. Only by passing the examination could they enter the inner sect and become an inner sect disciple. As for core disciples, Longao didn't plan on immediately taking the examination. He wanted to let Longao and Yi observe the 1,000 inner sect disciples. As long as they could become core disciples, they would receive the dragon sect's full support. However, Longao wasn't a fool. Although he didn't plan on immediately recruiting core disciples, he still threw out the temptation. This way, all the outer sect disciples would want to enter the inner sect and become inner sect disciples, and all the inner sect disciples would want to become core disciples. Longao found a huge peak in the Soaring Dragon Plains' northernmost region and named it Soaring Dragon Peak. Longao went all out to create a huge palace at the peak of Soaring Dragon Peak. It was extremely grand. Looking at Soaring Dragon Peak and the Grand Palace, Longao was very excited. That was because this was the first power he had established in the starry sky. It was also his starting point. He firmly believed that Dragon Sect would grow stronger and stronger in the future. Author's note: copy of the first chapter. Chapter 21:11. Master, you're ready to leave? After the establishment of Dragon Sect, everyone had changed their titles. Longao was naturally the master of Dragon Sect. As for Yi Mei and Heifeng, they were the two elders of Dragon Sect. Yes, Dragon Sect has just been established. I shouldn't leave, but I haven't found my wife yet. I don't want to waste any more time, so I'll leave Dragon Sect to you. With Yi Mei and Heifeng in Soaring Dragon Realm, Longao wasn't too worried. No matter what, with Yi Mei and Heifeng's strength, unless the Starry Sky Realm King came personally, no one would dare to challenge Dragon Sect. Since that was the case, there wasn't much point in him staying. He had already wasted a lot of time in the vast starry sky. Until now, he still didn't know anything about Xiling and Bai Ling. He couldn't wait. Longao didn't know how Xiling and Bai Ling were doing. If they were in their prime, he wouldn't be worried at all. However, the situation was different now. Their primordial spirits hadn't fully recovered. In the vast starry sky, they could be in danger at any time. That was why Longao was worried. He had to find them as soon as possible. The longer he delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for them. Yi Mei and Heifeng looked at each other. Both of them were well aware of the sect master's intentions. Both of them sighed helplessly. Master was loyal and affectionate. How could they stop him? Master, leave Dragon Sect to us. You can leave. When you come back, we'll give you a brand new Dragon Sect. Ha, great. Longao didn't leave immediately. Instead, he drank and chatted with the two for an entire day. Before he left, to make sure nothing went wrong, Longao walked around Soaring Dragon Realm. If he met a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor or a Starry Sky Realm Lord, he would kill them without mercy. He wouldn't leave any trouble for Dragon Sect. Although Longao was only a Starry Sky Realm Lord, he had two Starry Sky Corpse slaves. With the Universe Realm Lord and world-destroying Mad Dragon working together, no Starry Sky Realm Lord was a match for the two Starry Sky Corpse slaves. He stayed there for 3 days, and from the beginning to the end, neither Branchplum Blossom nor Heifeng knew. 3 days later, Longao finally left the Soaring Dragon Realm and stepped into the Grand Cloud Realm. Longao knew very well that with Xiling and Bai Ling's strength, they were definitely not nobodies even in the vast universe. Even so, it was still difficult to find them. How should he make his move? He had no idea where to start. The vast starry sky was simply too big, with countless realms standing in great numbers. There were countless realms and planes. No one knew how many realms and planes there were in the vast starry sky. Searching for the two of them in the vast starry sky was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Brother, I wonder what happened in the plane ahead. Longao was very curious to see so many people rushing excitedly towards a plane. Was there something fishy about this plane? Don't bother me. Go away. With a cold expression, Longao reached out and grabbed the man's throat. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. This person was only a level 9 cultivator. How could he be Longao's opponent? Startled, the burly man begged for mercy. Calm down, calm down. I'll tell you. This was because he met Longao. If it was anyone else, he would have already killed him. In the vast starry sky, it was normal for people to die. Sometimes it was not good to be too polite. Some people were just so cheap. They wanted to take advantage of him, but they just had to be ruthless. The plane in front of us is a high-level plane. Just a few days ago, someone discovered 2 heavily injured primordial spirit sword spirit. According to the rumors, the 2 primordial spirit sword spirits seem to be titled world kings. If we can devour the primordial spirit sword spirits. That's right. At this point, the burly man didn't continue. Everyone knew what the burly man meant. What did it mean to have a primordial spirit Jianling of a titled world king? If they could devour the primordial spirit Jianling of a titled world king, they had an 80% chance of becoming a titled world king. 2 primordial spirits Jianling? Their true bodies had died, and only their primordial spirits remained? Could it be Xiling and Bailing? A bad premonition appeared. Longao prayed in his heart that the 2 primordial spirits Jianling discovered in the high-level plane could not be Xiling and Bailing, otherwise, no one could guarantee that the 2 would be fine. F***ck, don't be in such a hurry, the large man cursed. Without any hesitation, he immediately headed towards the high-level plane. After all, the temptation of 2 titled world kings' primordial spirit sword spirits was too great. No matter who it was, even a titled world king would not be able to resist. The wind cloud plane was the high-level plane that everyone was heading to. It was not a very powerful high-level plane. In the wind cloud plane, the wind cloud sect had an absolute ruling position. The master of the wind cloud sect was also the number 1 powerhouse of the wind cloud plane. He was a starry sky territory ancestor, and was a famous existence in the grand cloud plane. Currently, the wind cloud sect was depressed to the extreme. They didn't know who had spread the news that there were 2 titled world kings Jianling in the wind cloud plane, causing the wind cloud plane to be in a state of turmoil. With so many powerhouses coming in, who knew if these powerhouses would go crazy and attack the wind cloud sect? The Jianling of 2 titled world kings attracted many powerhouses, including many starry sky territory masters. As for whether or not there were any starry sky territory masters, Longao didn't know. In any case, there definitely weren't any titled world kings, because it was impossible for a titled world king to appear. I hope it's them. Now, Longao was very conflicted. He hoped that the 2 Jianling were Xiling and Bailing, but he also didn't want the 2 Jianling to be Bailing and Xiling. Everyone who entered the wind cloud plane was fighting for themselves. All of them wanted to obtain the 2 primordial Jianling. With the current situation, they could only see who was lucky enough to obtain the 2 primordial Jianling. According to the rumors, the original bodies of the 2 titled world kings had already fallen. Only their primordial Jianling remained. Moreover, their primordial spirits were seriously injured. At this time, as long as they could find the 2 primordial Jianling, then devouring the 2 primordial Jianling would be an easy matter. The wind cloud plane was a high-grade plane. It was boundless and extremely large. Even if it wasn't as large as the universe plane, it wasn't much different. Longao quickly headed towards the left. He was very worried. If the 2 primordial Jianling were really Xiling and Bailing, then he had to find them as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The more it was like this, the more anxious Longao was. He couldn't let others find the whereabouts of the two. No one knew the whereabouts of the two primordial Jianling, but everyone was sure that the two Jianling were still in the sealed plane. P.S. Send the second chapter here. Chapter 21:12. Currently, the wind cloud plane had been sealed off. How could two seriously injured essence spirit Jianling leave so easily? The wind cloud plane was just too big. Even with Longao's speed, it was not easy to search every corner carefully. Aura cover? No one who came in chose to cover their aura. The reason was simple. If they chose to cover their aura, once they were discovered by the two essence spirit Jianling, it was easy to imagine what would happen. If someone casually used their aura cover to scare away the two essence spirit Jianling, the others would not agree. At that time, if they provoked public anger, it was easy to imagine what the consequences would be. Everyone searched. Longao's speed soared to the extreme. The longer he delayed, the more worried he became. The two essence spirit Jianling seemed to have disappeared. Wind Cloud Cliff. Longao received news that someone had seen two essence spirit Jianling at Wind Cloud Cliff. Wind Cloud Cliff was the highest mountain in the Wind Cloud Plain. However, the natural environment was extremely harsh. When the Wind Cloud Empire chose the location, they had no choice but to give up Wind Cloud Cliff. Whether it was true or not, Longao did not dare to be careless. What if it was true? With Xiling and Bai Ling's current situation, they could not resist the siege of Starry Sky cultivators. Wind Cloud Cliff. The natural environment was very harsh. At a glance, it seemed to reach the highest heavens. Currently, the Storm Cliff had become the focus of attention. 90% of the people who had stepped into the Storm Cliff had rushed over because everyone had a glimmer of hope. It would be great if they could find two primordial spirit sword spirits here. No one dared to casually step into Wind Cloud Cliff. Were the two essence spirit Jianling here? In fact, everyone had other thoughts. They were afraid that the two essence spirit Jianling would act out of desperation. At that time, the gains would not make up for the losses. A titled World King, even if the two essence spirit Jianling were seriously injured, once they chose to self-destruct, the entire Wind Cloud Cliff would be reduced to nothing. No one was willing to be the first to do so. Fengyun Cliff was already surrounded. Not to mention the primordial spirit Jianling, even a fly would find it hard to escape. Look, someone went in. F*CK, let's go too. The first person to rush into Storm Cliff was, without a doubt, Longao. Others might be afraid, but Longao didn't care at all. No matter how dangerous the Storm Cliff was, he had to enter. Many people were still in a dilemma. If they entered the Storm Cliff, the consequences would be unimaginable if the two primordial spirits Jianling self-destructed. If he didn't enter, wouldn't he miss the opportunity if someone else obtained the two primordial spirits Jianling? Enter? Or not? With no room to advance or retreat, many people continued to enter Storm Cliff. The Storm Cliff was full of eeriness. Back then, even Storm Cliff was afraid to set foot there. From this, one could imagine how bad the situation at Storm Cliff was. Ah! At this moment, a scream suddenly rang out. Under everyone's horrified gazes, a grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator was shrouded by a strong wind. Before this grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator could react, his whole body had already been dismembered. Everyone was shocked. A grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator, under normal circumstances, was already a relatively powerful existence and should not be able to withstand any kind of strong wind. But what was the result? The grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator did not have the slightest power to resist, as if it was cutting through tofu. With the grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator as an example, everyone became extra careful. No one wanted to repeat the same mistake and get killed by the strong wind. Longao's luck was not good. As soon as he stepped into Storm Cliff, before he could even start looking for the two people, the strong wind directly shrouded him. However, the place he was in was relatively hidden, and there was no second person around. It was a shock. Not daring to have the slightest hesitation, Longao immediately used the shattering starry sky in all directions. Streaks of starry sky cracks quickly appeared, forcibly resisting the extermination of the strong wind. Even so, Longao still felt a little scared. If he had reacted a little slower, maybe he would have died. At this moment, Longao finally understood why the rumor said that the Storm Cliff had chosen to give up on Storm Cliff. So that was the reason. It was very scary. Not wanting to take any more risks, Longao moved step by step and carefully looked for them. As long as he could sense the strong wind, he would immediately dodge or use shattering starry sky. This way, he would be able to escape without any danger. Xiling, Bailing, you must be safe. As time passed, Longao had a bad premonition in his heart. The people who entered Storm Cliff continued to die, one after another. Even their corpses could not be found, not to mention their primordial spirit. They could not enter the path of reincarnation. Even so, no one was willing to leave. Everyone hoped to devour the two primordial spirit. After all, the temptation of two titled world kings Jianling was too great. Even though they knew that life and death were at stake, they still resolutely chose to stay and look for the two primordial spirits. There was still no trace of them. Of the tens of thousands of starry sky cultivators who entered, not a single one could find the whereabouts of the two primordial spirits. Could it be that the two primordial spirits had already left Storm Cliff? That was not very likely. Someone spread the news that the two primordial spirits were at Storm Cliff. In an instant they had surrounded Storm Cliff. Not to mention the two primordial spirits, even an ant would not be able to leave. Since the two primordial spirits were still at Storm Cliff, where were they hiding? In the storm plain, the winds and clouds were changing. As the overlord of the Fengyan plain, the Fengyan Empire was powerless. They could only allow these people to do whatever they wanted in their territory. In the end, the Fengyan Empire was still not strong enough. If they had a Starry Sky Realm King or a titled Realm King, who would dare to step into the Fengyan Plain? Unfortunately, the strongest person in the Storm Empire was the Starry Sky Realm Ancestor. This time, there were dozens of Starry Sky Realm Lords and 2 Starry Sky Realm Kings who had entered the Storm Plain. What kind of concept was this? Whether it was dozens of Starry Sky Realm Lords or 2 Starry Sky Realm Kings, if they wanted to destroy the Storm Empire, it would be a matter of minutes. Because of this, the Storm Empire could only be obedient. However, the Storm Empire did not sit still and wait for death. Even if they could not stop the crowd, everyone had a share of the 2 primordial spirits. To obtain the 2 primordial spirits was not a matter of strength. The most important thing was a matter of luck. There were at least several thousand people who had entered Storm Cliff. There were even more people who stayed outside. In the end, the majority of the people were afraid of death. This was because they could not be sure whether the 2 primordial spirits were at Storm Cliff. What if they were not? P.S. Copy of the 3rd chapter. Chapter 21:13. What if the 2 spirits weren't there? Wouldn't that be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it? Especially after hearing the screams coming from within the cliff, everyone didn't dare to act rashly. All of them were like ants on a hot pan, restless. Humans were just that weird. They were afraid of death, but they wanted to obtain the spirits Jianling. Longao frantically searched everywhere for traces of the 2 people. He searched here and there, but he still couldn't find them. Where did they go? Long Fu, can you sense the aura of Xiling and Bailing? Long Fu knew the severity of the situation. Thinking about it, he said helplessly, Master, the cliff is a little special. My aura can't sense anything beyond 100 meters, so I can't lock onto their aura. This was big trouble. If even Long Fu couldn't lock onto their aura, it was even more impossible for him. Just at this moment, Long Ao's face changed and he raged. What do you want? Within Long Ao's dantian, the Chaos Stone Tablet started to get restless. Before he could suppress it, it had already left his dantian. The Chaos Stone Tablet grew bigger and stood in front of him. What was going on? Long Ao was very curious, but he was even more helpless. Although he had already started to refine the Chaos Stone Tablet, he couldn't truly control it until he finished refining it. Just like now, the Chaos Stone Tablet had left his dantian and he couldn't do anything about it. He could only watch. At this moment, he hoped that no one would come. Long Ao's luck wasn't too good. Whatever he was afraid of, it came. Look, what's that? Could it be the legendary Chaos Stone Tablet? Seems like it. The few people who appeared looked at the gigantic stone tablet standing not too far away. Each and every one of them was shocked to the extreme. Although they had never seen a Chaos Stone Tablet before, the aura that it emitted was very special. They weren't sure if it was the Chaos Stone Tablet. This was big trouble. This was just a few people. If there were more people, he wouldn't be able to hide the fact that he had the Chaos Stone Tablet. Once this was leaked, it would be troublesome. What should he do? Long Ao tried to control the Chaos Stone Tablet, but it didn't work at all. He was depressed to the extreme. Every time he reached a critical moment, the primal Chaos Stone Tablet would run out. All he could do was worry about it, but there was nothing he could do about it. 10 minutes later, dozens of people had already gathered around. All of them were staring intently at the gigantic stone tablet in front of them. Up until now, no one could be certain that this stone tablet was the legendary Chaos Stone Tablet. He who strikes first gains the advantage. The dozens of people in the surroundings did not seem to be on equal footing as they all rushed towards the black stone tablet. Everyone ignored Long Ao. Although the starry domains, he's the Chaos Stone Tablet. Long Ao was not controlled by the primal Chaos Stone Tablet and could still move. However, Long Ao didn't seem to care at all. Others might not know what kind of power the Chaos Stone Tablet possessed, but how could he not know? Just as expected, the 10 people grabbed the Chaos Stone Tablet at the same time. Before they could react, the Chaos Stone Tablet released wisps of black air and covered the 10 people. Miserable cries rang out one after another. In less than a few seconds, several dozen people had been swallowed up by the Chaos Stone Tablet. Even their souls had vanished without a trace. He was overjoyed. As the 10 people disappeared, Long Ao knew that the fact that he had the Chaos Stone Tablet wouldn't be leaked. But even so, if he couldn't control the Chaos Stone Tablet, it wouldn't work. Long Ao tried his best to retrieve the Chaos Stone Tablet. But he couldn't succeed. The more anxious he was, the more useless it was. Gradually, Long Ao calmed down. At this time, a stream of air entered his body. It flowed to his 4 limbs, 8 meridians, and all parts of his body. The Chaos Stone Tablet that he couldn't control just now returned to his dantian because of the flow of air. He was curious. Without hesitation, he entered the wordless heavenly book's space. Senior, thank you for your help. Long Ao was very shocked because he never would have thought that the mysterious black-clothed man would be able to control the primal Chaos Stone Tablet. That person looked exactly the same as him and claimed to be his reincarnation. As for whether he was or not, he didn't know. Long Ao, you don't have much time. If you can't refine the Chaos Stone Tablet, the consequences will be very troublesome. Senior, did you bring the Chaos Stone Tablet to me? The black-clothed man laughed. Do you think that with your luck you can really get the Chaos Stone Tablet? So that was it. Long Ao always thought that he could get 2 Chaos Stone Tablets at the same time because of his luck. So it was because of the black-clothed man. He smiled helplessly. Senior, just how difficult is it to refine the Chaos Stone Tablet? I'm sure you know better than me. According to my estimates, if I want to completely refine the Chaos Stone Tablet, I'll need at least 1,000,000 years. I might not even succeed. Longao didn't have any way to refine the Chaos Stone Tablet. If he said he didn't want to refine the Chaos Stone Tablet, that would be unrealistic. 1,000,000 years? Longao, do you think you have that much time? Longao was very curious. He didn't know why the mysterious youth was so anxious. Was there some trick to this? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, the mysterious youth helplessly said, Longao, I'm sure you already know your identity. You are my reincarnation body after 100 reincarnations, a total of 99 lives, and not a single one of them succeeded. Your chances are very high. If even you fail, then I can only enter the cycle of reincarnation again. I'll have to go through another 100 reincarnations. I might not succeed. I can't wait, and neither can you. Couldn't wait? What was it that couldn't wait? Longao was very curious. He went straight to the point and said, Senior, if you have something to say, then say it. I don't want to be in the dark. Longao had a feeling that he was nothing more than a chess piece for this mysterious youth. He didn't know anything and was at the mercy of others. You don't have the qualifications to know about this. If you want to know, then you must first break into the titled World King realm and then refine the Chaos Stone Tablet. Only then will you have the qualifications to know about this and complete it. Do you understand? He didn't have the qualifications again. Since that was the case, Longao didn't ask any further. This was because he knew that if the other party didn't want to say anything, then even if he continued to ask, the other party wouldn't say anything. P.S. Deliver the 4th chapter. Deliver the 5th chapter before 10 o'clock. Chapter 21:14. Longao felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Whether it was the divine mathematician or the mysterious youth, he was just a chess piece. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough. Refining the primal Chaos Stone Tablet was easier said than done. After leaving the wordless heavenly book space, Longao continued to search for Xiling and Bai Ling. While Longao was doing his best to search for them, everyone who had entered Storm Cliff was heading towards the peak of the mountain. Storm Cliff was surrounded by steep cliffs on 3 sides. It was pitch black as far as the eye could see. Even a starry sky realm king wouldn't dare to casually step into the cliffs. This was because no one knew what was at the bottom of the cliffs. Could it be that Xiling and Bai Ling's location had been exposed? At this moment, Longao was worried to the extreme. If the 2 primordial spirit Jianling were really Xiling and Bai Ling, then the situation would be very troublesome. If he was too slow, then Xiling and Bai Ling would be doomed. Thinking of this, Longao didn't dare to stay for even a moment. His speed soared to the extreme. Longao even used spatial teleportation to rush to the peak of the mountain as fast as he could. At the peak of Storm Cliff, everyone had already rushed to the peak of Storm Cliff. The 2 primordial spirit Jianling were girls. They were around 20 years old. As for their true ages, no one knew. At the very least, they were titled World Kings. Just thinking about it made one realize what this meant. When Lin Ju arrived and saw that the 2 primordial spirit Jianling weren't Xiling and Bai Ling, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He was very disappointed. Longao's heart was very complicated. He hoped that the 2 were Xiling and Bai Ling, but he also hoped that they weren't Xiling and Bai Ling. Everyone looked at the 2 girls, not daring to act rashly. This was because everyone knew the identities of the 2 girls. These 2 young girls were the titled World King Jianling they were looking for. Although both of their primordial spirits were seriously injured, no one dared to take a step forward. This was because many people were very afraid. No one knew if the 2 primordial spirits Jianling would act out of desperation. The self-detonation of two titled World Kings' primordial spirits Jianling was no small matter. Once they chose to self-detonate their primordial spirits, everyone here would die. A bunch of trash. Sister, what should we do now? Humph, even if we choose to detonate our yuan spirits, we won't fall into their hands. Primordial spirit explosion? Hearing their conversation, everyone was dumbfounded. Everyone retreated, afraid that the two of them would really choose to self-destruct. No one was unafraid of death. When the two Jianling primordial spirits saw everyone retreating, their faces were filled with disdain and ridicule. Only Longao did not take a step back. The two Jianling were very curious and said, "It seems that there are people who are not afraid of death. I'm convinced." Longao had never imagined that the two of them would really choose to self-detonate their primordial spirit. With their strength, it was not impossible for them to leave Storm Cliff. Why would they choose to self-detonate? Longao instantly entered the Dragon Seal space. The self-detonation of two titled World Kings Jianling's primordial spirits, one could imagine how powerful it would be. Boom boom. With two loud explosions, the entire Storm Cliff was instantly reduced to nothingness. Everyone who was guarding the Storm Cliff looked at the Storm Cliff that had disappeared in front of them and already knew what had happened. Everyone was scared silly because they knew what the self-detonation of two Jianling primordial spirits meant. Who would dare to stay any longer? They immediately prepared to leave. The result? The self-detonation of two titled World Kings Jianling's primordial spirits not only instantly destroyed the entire Storm Cliff, but it also spread out in all directions. No matter who it was, even the two World Kings, they were not lucky enough to escape. They were all implicated, their true bodies and primordial spirits destroyed. No one could have imagined that things would end up like this. Kacha, kacha. The self-detonation of two titled World Kings Jianling's primordial spirits was simply too powerful. A third of the storm plane was destroyed. Looking at the ruins of the storm plane, Longao sighed. It was simply too domineering. As expected of the self-detonation of a titled World King's primordial spirit. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. The matter of the storm plane had already spread throughout the entire Grand Cloud realm. Even the Grand Cloud Empire knew about it. The self-detonation of two titled World Kings Jianling's primordial spirits caused many people to feel pity. It wasn't sympathy, but pity. If they could devour two primordial spirits Jianling's primordial spirits, then they would have a high chance of becoming a titled World King. Longao also deeply sighed. He originally thought that the two titled World Kings were Xiling and Bailing. He didn't think that he would end up with nothing. There was no other way. He could only continue to search for traces of Xiling and Bailing. While Longao was searching, he was also preparing to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. The amount of energy needed to break through from the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm was simply too great. Just devouring the primordial spirits of cultivators in the Starry Sky was far from enough. Master, your luck is simply too good. Longao, who was preparing to leave the storm plane, was surprised to hear Long Fu's words. He didn't know where his luck came from. He didn't manage to find Xiling and Bailing. Long Fu, what's going on? However, Longao was very clear about Long Fu's personality. Master, the self-detonation of the two titled World Kings Jianling's primordial spirits won't disappear in a short period of time. I can help you gather the remaining primordial spirit. According to my calculations, the remaining primordial spirits of the two titled World Kings should be able to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor realm. Starry Sky Domain Ancestor? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. He was very clear about what the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor realm meant. If he could really break through to the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor realm, it would be an increase of 2 whole levels. Above the Starry Sky Domain Emperor was the Starry Sky Domain Emperor, and only after that would one be the so-called Starry Sky Domain Ancestor. Longao was just worrying about how long it would take for him to break through from the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. He didn't expect that his luck would be so good that he would be able to break through 2 levels and directly become a Starry Sky Domain Ancestor. Then what should I do now? Go to the ruins of Storm Cliff. Leave the rest to me. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He immediately went to the ruins of Storm Cliff and found a relatively secluded place to start cultivating. Because of what had happened before, no one would come to Storm Cliff now. Even the Storm Empire couldn't take care of itself and didn't have time to care about the destroyed Storm Cliff. Under such circumstances, no one would come to disturb Longao. Master, let's start now. Okay. Longao couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to start. At this time, the auras in the surroundings slowly gathered towards him. Longao could clearly sense that the auras coming towards him were the primordial spirits of the 2 titled world kings Jianling. It seemed that this was the so-called remaining primordial spirit. P.S. Copy of the 5th chapter. Chapter 21:15. When the 2 titled world kings Jianling's primordial spirits exploded, the primordial spirits that couldn't be dispersed were also enormous. Long Fu gathered the remaining primordial spirits and crazily poured them into Longao's body. Currently, Longao's cultivation base had reached the peak of Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to Starry Sky Territory Emperor. Breaking through to the next realm required an enormous amount of energy. With Long Fu's help, Longao's cultivation base successfully broke through from Starry Sky Territory Emperor to Starry Sky Territory Emperor in just 1 day. He was overjoyed. What he needed to do next was to continue breaking through to Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. According to Long Fu, the surrounding primordial spirits were enough for him to break through to Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. Time passed bit by bit. Around 10 days later, suddenly opening his eyes, Longao's body emitted a powerful aura. After 10 days of devouring primordial spirits, his cultivation base finally broke through from Starry Sky Territory Emperor to Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. In 11 days, he broke through 2 realms. Even Longao couldn't believe it. If he broke through under normal circumstances, who knew how long it would take? He might not be able to reach Starry Sky Territory Ancestor even after hundreds of years. He was pleasantly surprised. He was very excited. Longao was somewhat unwilling. If he could use the surrounding primordial spirits to break through to Starry Sky Territory Lord, it would be great. Master, this is all I can help you with. To break through from Starry Sky Territory Ancestor to Starry Sky Territory Lord, besides the enormous amount of energy, you also need opportunities. He nodded. How could Longao not know Long Fu's words? Long Fu, there's something I'm curious about. I can clearly feel that the surrounding primordial spirits are still there. Why don't I continue to devour them? Even if the 2 titled world kings Jianling exploded their primordial spirits, the remaining primordial spirits were still extremely terrifying. Even if he used the primordial spirits to break through 2 realms, there would still be at least half of them left. That's right. Longao was very curious. Why didn't Long Fu help him continue to devour primordial spirits? That way, he might be able to break through to Starry Sky Territory Lord or even World King. Long Fu shook his head. Master, I know what you mean. But the remaining primordial spirits are controlled by a mysterious power if we forcefully devour them. So, Longao became more and more curious. He didn't know who could control Emperor controlled the surrounding primordial spirit. He seemed to see the primordial spirit be. Master, it's not man-made. Not man-made? Could it? If that's du's due, there was no. Longao didn't linger on this issue. He understood clearly that he was lucky enough to break through 2 realms continuously to reach the territory ancestor realm. Without Long Fu's help, would he have been able to do it? The Pridial spirits was slowly disappeared slowly. At this moment. For him, for some reasons Fu's space cracks were the nemesis of all cultivators. Even a titled world king would die if they were sucked into a space crack. The space cracks were too dense. If he was careless, he would be sucked in. He couldn't advance or retreat. He was in a dilemma. Longao tried to enter the dragon seal space, but at this time, he found that he could no longer enter, because the surrounding space cracks had already locked the surrounding space. If he forcefully entered, not only him, but even the dragon seal might be sucked into the space cracks. Like a tsunami, it came with a whoosh. The space cracks around Longao were getting closer and closer. They could destroy Longao at any time. Without a choice, Longao prepared to use shatter space. Fight poison with poison. Using his finger as a sword, he began to send out sword energy. The sword energy broke through the space, creating many space cracks. The 2 kinds of space cracks intertwined, emitting a terrifying aura. Even so, Longao was still swallowed by the space cracks. What happened in the wind cloud plane shook all the worlds in the Grand Cloud realm. Now, the wind cloud plane was famous. Without a choice, the wind cloud empire could only move out of the wind cloud plane. Not only the cloudy wind empire, but even other sects and families had also moved out of the cloudy wind dimension. In just a few days, the cloudy wind dimension had become an empty shell, and it had also become a forbidden area in the Grand Cloud region. No one dared to step in. As for Longao's matter, no one knew and no one cared. Longao might be famous in the heaven-devouring realm. No matter what, he destroyed the Heaven and Earth sect and provoked the heaven-devouring empire. This was an unprecedented feat, however. No one in the Grand Cloud realm knew of Longao. Under normal circumstances, Longao would die without a doubt after being swallowed by the space cracks. Soaring Dragon Plane. After Longao's departure, Yi Mei and Haifeng did their best to develop the dragon sect. However, they were very low-key. The 2 knew that before the sect was strong enough, it was not suitable to stand out too much. If they attracted attention, it might be counterproductive. In this way, the 2 of them developed their forces in a very low-key manner. Because of their strength, the dragon sect developed very quickly. Although the 2 of them were very low-key, they still attracted attention. The soaring dragon plane began to appear in the sights of the Grand Cloud realm. The rise of a plane. Finally, the Grand Cloud Empire couldn't sit still anymore. If it were an ordinary plane, the Empire wouldn't care. However, the soaring dragon plane was developing too fast. Especially in the dragon sect, there was a Starry Sky sector master and a Starry Sky territory ancestor. If they could recruit them, it would be a good thing. The Grand Cloud Empire was the absolute overlord of the realm. Logically speaking, all the planes here should be under the Empire's rule. However, that was not the case. Not only the Grand Cloud realm, but the other realms as well, including the heaven-devouring realm. No matter what, there were still some planes that were unwilling to be ruled. Sometimes, even the Empire had no choice. They could not really destroy them. You could destroy one plane, but could you destroy all the other planes that refused to submit? In this way, although many planes were ruled, they were still free. The Grand Cloud Empire sent an envoy to the soaring dragon plane, hoping that the dragon sect would join the Empire. However, the dragon sect did not even think about it and rejected it directly. This was because Yi Mei and Haifeng knew that their master would not agree to this. If he agreed, there was no need to establish a sect. He could have just chosen to join the heaven-devouring empire. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire's strength was far above the Grand Cloud Empire. P.S. Send the first chapter. Chapter 21:16. He had a splitting headache. He felt as if his internal organs had been displaced. Was he already dead? He opened his eyes with difficulty. Looking at the unfamiliar environment, Longao didn't know if he was alive or dead. It seemed like he wasn't dead. He let out a long sigh of relief. In the end, his luck was pretty good. He was swallowed by the space crack and didn't die. If news of this spread, no one would believe it. It was a 1 in 10,000 chance. For example, if 10,000 people were swallowed by the space crack, less than 3 would survive. This was the terror of the space crack. His whole body was in pain and he couldn't move at all. After a full day and night, Longao was finally able to move a little. Even so, he couldn't get up. Where was he? This was a dense forest. Longao could almost say that this was a plain. As for whether he was still in the wind cloud plain, or even in the grand cloud plain, it was unknown. Enduring the pain in his body, Longao finally forced himself to stand up. With every step, he felt as if his whole body was falling apart. The pain was unbearable. The dense forest stretched as far as the eye could see. If Longao was at his peak, he could leave in a matter of minutes. But now, his injuries were very serious. Not to mention leaving, even if he could walk 100 meters, it would be a big problem. Master, your luck is really good. Longao smiled helplessly and said, Long Fu, sense where this is? Okay. Long Fu's sector Lord Dragon Seal's aura instantly covered the surrounding space. He didn't speak for a long time. What was going on? Was there a problem with his position? Long Fu, what's wrong? Master, there's no life in this plane. No life? Longao knew what Long Fu meant. In other words, there wasn't a single person in this plane. There wasn't even a single spirit beast. What kind of place was this? Without waiting for Longao to ask, Long Fu continued, Master. Master, you have to be careful. This plane is a little strange. Longao nodded. He didn't think about the matters of this plane. The most important thing now was to deal with his injuries. Otherwise, everything would be in vain. Even if he encountered danger, only death would await him. To be on the safe side, Longao didn't recuperate outside. Instead, he returned to the Dragon Seal space. By doing so, he could ensure that nothing would go wrong. In the Dragon Seal space, Longao did his best to recover from his injuries. Unfortunately, his body had been torn apart by the spatial rift. It was already fortunate that he hadn't died. Wanting to recover was truly a troublesome matter. His essence soul, in particular, was even more severely injured. Just when Longao was at his wits' end and didn't know what to do, a strange power suddenly came from his body and began to quickly heal his injuries. Black Iron Fragment. Longao knew what the Black Iron Fragment meant. It was something left behind by the undying tyrant body Starry Sky ruler. 12 astral dominators. Dominator of the 5 elements Starry Sky, Dominator of the devouring Starry Sky, Dominator of the lightning Starry Sky, Dominator of the space Starry Sky, Dominator of the time Starry Sky, Dominator of the destruction Starry Sky, Dominator of the reincarnation Starry Sky, Dominator of the slaughter Starry Sky, Dominator of the divine calculation Starry Sky, Dominator of the sword intent Starry Sky, Dominator of the immortal tyrant body Starry Sky, and Dominator of the darkness Starry Sky. The indestructible tyrant body Starry Sky Dominator was known as the Starry Sky Dominator with the strongest defense. Longao did not waste any time. He immediately used this mysterious power to heal his injuries. In just a few hours, he had recovered 90% of his injuries. This was something that Longao did not dare to imagine. Longao? Upon hearing the old man's call, Longao's primordial spirit instantly entered the Black Iron Fragment. Thank you for your help, Senior. The old man, the so-called indestructible tyrant body sovereign, smiled and nodded. Longao, I didn't expect you to have already obtained the devouring primal chaos tablet. It seems like you will be able to obtain the inheritance of the devouring starry sky sovereign and become the new sovereign of the starry sky. Could he really refine the devouring primal chaos tablet? Longao had never thought of such a thing because the sovereign of the starry sky was too far away for him. Moreover, legends were legend. After so many years, no one had been able to become the sovereign of the starry sky. Senior, is there any way I can help you be reborn? Longao knew very well that whether it was the old man he had seen before or the old man in the black iron fragment, they were all remnant souls. The real indestructible tyrant body sovereign had already fallen. He was certain that the legendary sovereign of the starry sky did not have the slightest malicious intent towards him. If he could be reborn, it would not only bring him no harm, but also great benefit. Reborn? After a deep sigh, the old man said helplessly, "The time is not right. Even if you are reborn, what can you do? Longao, since you were able to obtain the devouring primal chaos tablet and have the dragon seal, it seems that you have a great opportunity. If you grasp it well, you may succeed." What did he mean? Longao didn't ask because he knew that if the old man wanted to tell him, even if he didn't ask, the old man would tell him. If the old man didn't want to tell him, even if he asked, the old man wouldn't tell him. Since that was the case, why should he bother? Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, with your talent, it's not easy for you to do this. I hope you can do it. At this point, the old man didn't seem to be willing to continue talking. He changed the topic and said, "Longao, I see that you are looking for someone. In the vast starry sky, if you want to find someone, it won't be that easy." "Senior, I want to find my wife." Longao didn't hide anything. He told the old man everything that had happened in the Martial Heaven continent, including Xiling and Bailing's situation. Longao knew that as the sovereign of the starry sky, the old man might be able to help him find Xiling and Bailing. After listening to him, the old man quieted down, his face changing again. "Longao, I can tell you clearly that your wife and Xiling aren't simple. Even if you can find them, what can you do?" Longao was a little dumbfounded. He didn't know what the old man meant. As for the identity of Xiling and Bailing, Longao had already guessed that they were not simple. They had super strong strength. Not to mention the sky martial plane, even in the entire vast starry sky, their strength was not to be underestimated. With such strong strength, if someone said that they did not have a background, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Even so, what could he do? "Senior, no matter when or what happens, Bailing is my wife. Thus, no matter what, I have to find her." The old man nodded approvingly, smiling. "Kid, I'm a little jealous of your good fortune." Not bad at all." Chapter 21:17. Longao, I can help you find your wife? He was overjoyed. Longao had guessed that the old man, who was the ruler of the starry sky, must have a way to help him find Xiling and Bailing. The 12 rulers of the starry sky were the strongest in the vast starry sky. "Senior, how can I find them?" Longao could not wait to find Bailing and Xiling immediately. He had stepped into the vast starry sky to find them, but after so long, there was still no trace of them. There were countless planes in the vast starry sky. Was it possible to find the two of them in the vast starry sky? It was almost impossible. Not now. What did he mean? Longao was a little curious. Was the old man playing with him? It seemed a little unlikely. Longao asked curiously, "Senior, if now is not the time, then when is the time?" Longao was very worried about the safety of the two of them. If the two of them were in their prime, Longao would not be worried, because there were not many people in the vast starry sky who could hurt them. But now, the situation was very different. Whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, their bodies had died, leaving only their primordial spirits, and they were seriously injured. If they encountered a strong enemy at this time, how could the two of them resist? The longer they delayed, the more dangerous it would be for the two of them. Because of this, Longao knew very well that he had to find the two of them as soon as possible to minimize the danger. Longao, I know you are very worried about your wife, but I can tell you clearly that even if you can find her now, not only will it not be good for her, it might even be counterproductive. Senior, what is going on? The more the old man acted like this, the more curious Longao was. The more curious he was, the more uneasy he felt. Don't ask about this first. There is only one thing you need to do now, and that is to improve your strength as soon as possible. Only when you are strong enough can you protect your wife. Otherwise, everything will be nonsense. He sighed deeply. Since the old man had already said so, what else could he say? Senior, I know what to do. Longao, I swear on my honor that nothing will happen to your wife. He breathed a sigh of relief, because if he still couldn't believe the guarantee of a starry sky ruler, then he would be a little ridiculous. Senior, I'll take my leave first. Wait. Longao turned around and looked curiously at the old man in front of him. Could there be something else? Longao, the plane you're in now is a bit special. You have to be careful. Understood. Longao left the black iron fragment. Both Long Fu and the old man had said so. It seemed that the plane he was in now was really dangerous. Among the countless planes in the vast starry sky, there were very few planes without people. Even if there were, they would probably be occupied by starry sky cultivators. Longao's injuries were almost healed, and he could now fly. He arrived at the peak of the 9 heavens and looked down. F***ck. He cursed fiercely in his heart, because at a glance, there was only a dense forest everywhere, and there was no other place at all. Not only that, Longao tried to release the aura of his primordial spirit, ready to cover the entire plane to see what was going on. However, before his primordial spirit could cover the entire plane, it was counterattacked by a mysterious force. If he hadn't withdrawn it in time, he would have been trapped. There was indeed something fishy. Longao was very curious. Since there was no living creature in this plane, what was counterattacking him? Could it be that this plane was the same as the storm cliff, the power of the plane itself? It was very likely. Continuing to fly in the air, Longao wanted to see just how big this plane was. With Longao's current speed, no matter how big the plane was, he could sweep across it in a few days. But what was the result? For a full 10 days, Longao didn't walk out of the dense forest. The only explanation was that this plane was full of forests. What a strange plane. There was no other way. Longao helplessly found that he couldn't even find the exit of the plane. In this case, he didn't even have the chance to leave the plane. It was too strange. Long Fu, can you sense the location of the exit? Shaking his head, Long Fu said helplessly, Master, this plane is too strange. Even I can't sense the location of the exit. After thinking about it, there is only one explanation. What? He had to find the exit as soon as possible. Longao didn't want to stay here forever. Master, if my guess is correct, this plane is actually not a plane. It can also be called a plane. Longao was a little confused by Long Fu's words. What did he mean by being both a plane and not a plane? Then was this plane a plane? Master, in the vast starry skies there is a race called the plane race. This kind of life form can transform into a plane. In other words, in their own plane they are the rulers. Longao was stunned. He had never heard of such a strange thing. The body could actually transform into a plane. If it wasn't for Long Fu, Longao wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. There was a life form that could transform into a plane. Just how strong was that? Long Fu, how strong is the plane race? It's very strong, but also very weak. If the life form itself isn't anything special, then it can transform into a world. If someone who doesn't know about it enters, then no one will be a match for the planar race. Even a titled world king wouldn't be able to do so. This is the strength of planar races. So that's how it was. Longao wasn't sure whether this plane he was in was a plane race or not. If it was, then things would be very troublesome. If it was, then how could he leave this plane? Long Fu, can you be sure whether this plane is a plane created by such a life form? Long Fu helplessly shook his head. Master, I don't dare to be sure. Up until now, this life form hasn't attacked you, so I can't be sure. But, Master, I have a way to test whether or not this plane is a plane created by a plane race. What way? Longao impatiently asked. This was because he also wanted to know whether or not the plane he was in was a plane created by a life form. This was directly related to whether or not he could smoothly leave this plane. Was it a plane or not? Master, you can attack any place in this plane. If it really is a plane created by a life form, then it will definitely retaliate. As for the coverage of your primordial spirit, that should be the life form's retaliation. Long Fu's method could be said to be very risky. Chapter 21:18. Attack? Or not? Longao knew that if he didn't attack, he could guarantee his safety even if he couldn't be sure if this plane was created by a living being. If he attacked, the living being would counterattack and the consequences would be troublesome. Master, since this living being didn't attack you, you shouldn't provoke it for now. Stabilize your realm first. Alright. Although he had successfully broken through to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm, his realm was unstable due to the spatial crack. The most important thing now was to stabilize the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm. Longao casually found a place, and immediately sat down on the ground, and began to stabilize. This plain was filled with dense forests and there were no living beings. It didn't matter where he chose. As the days passed, Longao's realm slowly stabilized. The more he advanced, the more difficult it became. It was almost unimaginable for a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm to become a Starry Sky Territory Lord. It seemed that if he wanted to continue to break through, other than devouring a huge amount of energy, he would have to encounter fortuitous encounters. Without fortuitous encounters, there would be no breakthrough. Just like this time, after devouring the primordial spirits of 2 Starry Sky Territory Kings, Jianling, he broke through 2 realms, from the Starry Sky Territory Emperor to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor realm. In the blink of an eye, 15 days passed. There were no attacks, and Longao didn't choose to attack either. Wait and see. After stabilizing his realm, Longao got up and walked around, wherever he went. No matter where he went, it was the same. There were no humans or spiritual beasts. It was hell on earth. It would be unbearable to live here for a few years. However, this was a good place to cultivate in seclusion. No one would disturb him, and he could calm his mind. Everywhere in this plain was filled with dense forests like a maze. No matter where he went, it was the same. Longao's mind was calm as he walked. He seemed to have entered a certain state. Heaven-devouring empire. Master, Ao can't destroy the heaven-devouring empire in 100 years. If we do that, won't we be harming Ao? Wantong was very worried about Longao's safety. It was impossible for Chunting to accept Longao. If nothing unexpected happened, 3 years later, Chunting would definitely think of all sorts of ways to deal with Longao. With Longao's strength, he would definitely die. Until now, Wantong still couldn't figure out why his master would set a 100-year agreement with Longao. Could it be that master wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife? It didn't seem possible. Wantong, I know what you mean. This disciple of yours isn't simple. If he can really destroy the heaven-devouring empire within 100 years, he'll be a great opportunity for both of us. He didn't understand. Wantong still couldn't understand his master's meaning. Opportunity? How did Longao become their lucky chance? They really couldn't figure it out. Bujing sighed helplessly and said, Wantong, I'll tell you later. Right now, we only need to help Longao destroy the heaven-devouring empire. Hearing his master's words, Wantong was completely scared silly. Destroy the heaven-devouring empire? His master wanted to destroy the heaven-devouring empire? What was going on? Wantong was completely confused by Bujing's words. He didn't know why his master wanted to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire had done them a favor. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed here for so many years. Master, can we do it? Of course not. I'm sure you know how strong the heaven-devouring empire is. We can't do it alone, but with Longao we have a great chance. Wantong couldn't figure it out. Longao was just a universal domain emperor. Even if he could become a universal domain overlord or even a universal king within 100 years, it was still impossible for him to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. Others might not know, but how could Wantong not know how strong the heaven-devouring empire was? Not to mention the three of them, even the other universal domains wouldn't be able to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. His master seemed like a fantasy. Wantong, come with me. Longao didn't know anything about his master and Bujing. Currently, he was still in the mysterious world. Until now, he was still wandering around freely. Anyway, every place was the same. It was a lush forest. After walking for an unknown period of time, Longao woke up with a start. He realized that not only had his injuries healed, but he had also made some progress in his cultivation realm. If I can stay in this state, it won't be a tough thing to break through to the Territory Lord realm. Longao was satisfied with his good fortune. It was just dozens of days to break through to the Territory Ancestor realm, from the Territory Emperor realm, from the Territory Lord realm. It was an unimaginable thing. If he cultivated normally, only God knew how long it would take. Not bad. I didn't expect you to be able to enter the state in my body. You're quite talented. At this moment, an illusory voice came from the surroundings. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed that this world was created by the races on this world. Senior, I didn't mean to offend you. Longao was very polite because he didn't have any grudges with the other party. He believed that the other party wouldn't make things difficult for him. Unless the other party was looking for trouble, there was nothing he could do. In short, if the enemy didn't move, he wouldn't move. If the enemy moved, he would move first. I know that you were brought here by the spatial crack. I'm curious, how did you resist the spatial crack and not get killed? Even he didn't know. Longao thought that he was dead for sure. After all, being sucked in by the spatial crack didn't bode well for him. However, sometimes being too lucky couldn't be helped. Senior, to be honest, I don't know what's going on. He told the truth and didn't try to hide anything. A figure flickered, and a figure appeared in an instant. It was an old man, but it was impossible to tell his actual age. This was because in the vast starry sky, as long as they did not say anything, no one would know. Some starry sky cultivators had lived for tens of millions of years, but they still looked like they were in their 20s. Some people had lived for less than 10 years, but their hair had already turned white. Senior, you don't need to call me that. I don't like it. If you don't mind, you can call me Big Brother Phone. Big Brother Phone? Of course, Longao didn't mind. Moreover, he could clearly feel that this so-called race in front of him was a formidable universal domain king. If he wanted to deal with him, he didn't know if he could leave this place alive. Chapter 21:19. It seems you've already guessed my identity. I know a thing or two. Longao had already guessed that this feng xiu in front of him, if he wasn't mistaken, should be a planar race. I've already forgotten how many years it has been since someone entered my main plane. A main plane was a plane created by one's main body. Within one's main plane, feng xiu was the ruler. No matter who it was, even a titled world king, they were no match for feng xiu. However, feng xiu was also a starry sky world king. Friend or foe? Senior, I want to leave your main plane. Longao was testing him. If feng xiu was willing to let him leave his main plane, then they would be friends. He believed feng xiu wouldn't do anything to him. However, if he didn't let him leave, then he knew what would happen. I still don't know your name. Longao. Longao didn't use the pseudonym Black Wolf. You can leave, but you have to agree to one condition. Before Longao could speak, feng xiu continued, Longao, I won't let you help me for free. If you're willing to help, then I'll give you what you want. If you're not willing to help, then I can send you away right now. Agree? Or not? Longao didn't know if feng xiu was telling the truth. If he refused, would feng xiu really let him go? What if feng xiu was just testing him? Longao was well aware of his own strength. Not to mention his main plane, just feng xiu's strength alone wasn't something he could contend against. After thinking about it, in the end, Longao decided to agree. He chose to believe in feng xiu. Senior, what do you need me to do? Feng xiu smiled. Follow me. Longao followed feng xiu and walked towards the left. If feng xiu didn't lead the way, Longao wouldn't have been able to find his way. No matter which direction they went, it was all the same. They were all covered in dense forests. Not long after, the two of them arrived at a stone house. The decorations were very simple. Longao, do you know anything about the races in this plane? I don't know much about it. If not for the fact that he had entered feng xiu's dimension and what Long Fu had said earlier, Longao would not have known that there was such a mysterious race in this world. Countless years ago, the planar races were one of the most powerful races in the vast universe. Longao could imagine this. Given the strength of the races on this plane, it was hard to imagine which force could contend with such a powerful race. Back then, our planar race roamed the vast starry skies and provoked powerful enemies. Everyone targeted us and joined forces to destroy our planar race. It was the same situation again. Longao knew very well that whether it was the plane race or the reincarnation race, they were all super existences of their time. He believed that even the various starry sky empires were no match for these two races. Helplessly, the planar race and the reincarnation race were too domineering and rose to power too quickly. They provoked countless forces and caused fatal disasters. In the end, whether it was the planar race or the reincarnation race, they were all annihilated. I am the only one left of the planar race. Longao had already guessed this, but he did not say anything. Could it be that feng xiu wanted him to avenge the planar race? If that was the case, he would never agree even if he was beaten to death. It was easy to guess what kind of existence could destroy the planar race. Was it worth it for him to provoke countless powerful enemies for feng xiu? Definitely not. As if he could guess Longao's thoughts, feng xiu said helplessly, Longao, don't worry. I don't intend to pursue the feud between the races. With my strength alone, I can't shake so many forces. Rather than that, I am asking for trouble. Longao admired feng xiu very much. He was able to pick up and let go. Senior, if that's the case, what do you need me to do? Longao was very curious. Since feng xiu was not looking for him to avenge the planar race, what did he want him to help with? Longao, I only need you to help me retrieve one thing. Senior, what is it? Longao was really curious. He did not know what feng xiu wanted him to retrieve because he could not understand. With feng xiu's strength, what was it that he could not retrieve by himself? Why did he need Longao's help? But with his strength, he was no match for Feng Xiu. The difference between the two was too great. They were not on the same level. The treasure of my planar race. Senior, there is something I don't understand. With Senior's strength and the planar race, how can the vast starry sky stop Senior's footsteps? I believe Senior should be aware of my strength. I am a territory ancestor of the starry sky, not even a territory lord of the starry sky. Feng Xiu sighed helplessly and said, Longao, if I could, I would not have waited for so long. This place is the nemesis of our planar races. Once we step in, we will die without a doubt. So that was the case. Since things had already reached this point, could he still refuse? Senior Feng, may I know where this place is? Forbidden Death Land. Forbidden Death Land? What was this place? Feng Xiu didn't try to hide anything. He briefly explained the situation in the Forbidden Land of Death. The Forbidden Death Land was one of the forbidden lands in the vast starry sky. No one dared to step into the Forbidden Death Land, not even a titled world king. According to Feng Xiu, the planar races were besieged by countless forces in the past. With no other choice, the planar races threw their treasure into the Forbidden Death Land. After so many years, Feng Xiu was unable to retrieve the treasure from the Forbidden Death Land. Feng Xiu was different from others. Because of the restrictions of the planar races, the Forbidden Death Land was the nemesis of the planar races. Once Feng Xiu stepped into the Forbidden Death Land, not to mention retrieving the treasure, he did not even know if he could come out alive. Longao was also depressed to the extreme. Even a titled world king didn't dare to casually step into the Forbidden Land of Death. With his strength, if he were to step in, wouldn't that mean that he would also die? He had just agreed to Feng Xiu's request. If he rejected it now, it would be too unkind of him. Longao, in the Forbidden Death Land, there is a race called the Death Race. They are extremely powerful. In the past, they were sealed by the Slaughter Starry Sky ruler. After so many years, no one has been able to break the seal. If the Death Race reappears in the vast starry sky, Feng Xiu did not continue speaking, but the meaning of his words was clear. The Death Race's strength was comparable to the planar races and the reincarnation race. P.S. There has been no battery since the afternoon. I wrote this on my phone. The 4th and 5th chapters have been delivered at the same time. Chapter 21-20. Senior, I'm not sure. This was the truth. Longao didn't want to refuse, but he knew his limits. Once he stepped into the Forbidden Land of Death, he would die there, not to mention getting the so-called treasure. Longao, I know what you're worried about. I'll hide in any of your divine artifacts. No matter what danger you encounter, I'll be able to help you. I see. Longao knew what Feng Xiu meant. He wanted to enter the Forbidden Land of Death with him. Since things had come to this point, he had no reason to refuse. They stayed in the body plane for a few days. Feng Xiu's body appeared and took Longao to the Forbidden Land of Death. Longao and Feng Xiu quickly arrived at the Death Plane under the constant use of teleportation arrays. The Death Plane didn't belong to any empire, nor did it belong to any realm. It could be said that the Death Plane was an independent plane. The Death Plane was fundamentally different from other planes. The so-called Forbidden Land of Death didn't have an independent plane at all. It only had a huge black vortex. As for the plane, it seemed to have completely integrated into the vast starry sky. Longao, this is the Forbidden Land of Death. Have you thought it through? He nodded. Longao took out the Samsara sword and said, Senior, you can stay here for the time being. Okay, no problem. But remember, after entering the Forbidden Land of Death, you have to be careful. If you encounter any divine artifacts, I'll sense it. I'll tell you then. With that, Feng Xiu's figure entered the Samsara sword. Longao put away the samsara sword and stepped out. He disappeared into the black vortex. The death plane was listed as a forbidden land by the vast starry sky. In addition to the fear of death, the more important reason was that there was a seal of the Slaughter Star Dominator in the forbidden land of death. Although the seal only worked on the Death Clan, no one was willing to provoke the Slaughter Star Dominator. What if the Slaughter Star Dominator hadn't died? Any one of the 12 Dominators of the Starry Sky could defeat all the forces. In the Black Vortex, Longao had disappeared without a trace. In the Death Plane, the air was gray and hazy. Longao, who had just stepped into the plane, immediately frowned. According to Feng Xiu, the death aura in the Death Plane was very strange. It could silently invade a cultivator's body. With Feng Xiu's aura enveloping him, Longao could resist the corrosion of the death aura around him. There was only desolation everywhere. Not to mention humans, even insects were nowhere to be seen. He knew nothing about the undead plane, and neither did Feng Xiu. Longao didn't need to release his aura to envelop the area, and he could ascertain that the so-called death plane was boundless. It was easier said than done to find a divine artifact in such a large plane. Lucky? Or was it bad luck? He should be happy that he was able to befriend one of the few remaining races of the plane. But now, Longao wasn't happy at all. The death plane was too dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could cost him his life. Was it worth it to take such a risk for a person he had just met? He shrugged helplessly. No matter what, this was his own choice, and he couldn't blame anyone else. He would take it one step at a time. Longao didn't know anything about the Death Clan, and he didn't know what the Death Clan was like. Anyway, he only knew one thing: the Death Clan was very powerful. Even the Slaughter Starry Sky ruler had personally acted to seal them. The Death Clan members couldn't leave the Death Plane at all. "Master, the Death Clan is very unusual, you must be careful." Long Fu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke at this time. "Long Fu, can you pinpoint the location of the Death Clan?" Longao had already tried to release his primordial spirit, hoping to cover the Death Plane. But the Death Plane was the same as the main plane. His primordial spirit could only be maintained within 100 meters. Once it exceeded 100 meters, it couldn't continue to cover. In this case, it was simply a pipe dream to use the primordial spirit to cover the Death Plane. "Master, I can't do what you can't do. If I forcibly break the airflow here to pinpoint the location of the Death Clan, then the Death Clan will immediately pinpoint our location. Also, I have to tell Master a piece of bad news. I can't enter the Dragon Seal space?" Longao had already guessed that for him, not being able to enter the Dragon Seal space was the worst news. Especially under such circumstances, not being able to enter the Dragon Seal space was simply asking for his life. "Master, you're right. The airflow here has the seal of the Slaughter Star Dominator. If you enter the Dragon Seal space, the seal will also enter the Dragon Seal space. At that time, we'll be in big trouble. So that's how it is." Unknowingly, Longao came to a swamp. There were swamps all around, and in the swamps there were constantly bubbling bubbles. It looked very strange and mysterious. Flying in the air was definitely out of the question because flying in the air was too conspicuous. If he was accidentally discovered by the Death Clan, wouldn't he go for wool and come home shorn? The surroundings were still gray. Longao didn't step into the swamp. Who knows what dangers existed in this swamp? This time, entering the Death Plane was mainly to help Feng Xiu obtain the treasures of the Death Plane's races. As for other matters, he didn't want to care too much. As for the Death Clan, he didn't even want to see a single person. The goal was clear, so there was no need to complicate matters. The Death Plane was a bit too big. Just relying on walking was a bit of a pain in the ass. Longao also knew that it was a bit unrealistic to continue like this. Entering the Death Plane, unless it was a last resort, Feng Xiu wouldn't appear at all, nor would he communicate with him through spiritual sense. In this case, everything depended on himself. Longao, there is a Slaughter Star Dominator's seal here. You have to be careful. If you wake up even a trace of his remnant soul, I'm afraid you'll really die here. Suddenly hearing the words of the old man in the black fragment, Longao was shocked because he knew very well what it meant to have a trace of the Slaughter Star Dominator's remnant soul. He believed that even with his current strength, he wasn't a match for the Slaughter Star Dominator's remnant soul. This was the gap between them, like an insurmountable gap. It seemed that in order to prevent the Death Clan from breaking out of the seal, the Slaughter Star Dominator had specifically left his remnant soul to guard this place. It was hard to imagine how powerful the Death Clan was to be treated like this by the Slaughter Star Dominator. The more this was the case, the more afraid Longao was and the more cautious he was. Senior, how can I prevent the Slaughter Star Dominator's remnant soul from waking up? This was the most important thing. P.S. Send the first chapter. Chapter 21-21. Longao knew what it meant to kill the remnant soul of the Starry Sky Ruler. If he was careless and woke up the remnant soul of the Starry Sky Ruler, he would be in big trouble. Remember, don't try to shatter the Starry Sky. He felt scared just thinking about it. If the old man didn't remind him, Longao couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't use Shatter the Starry Sky if he was in danger. If he really used Shatter the Starry Sky and woke up the remnant soul of the Starry Sky Ruler, the consequences would be unimaginable. Understood? He continued to move forward cautiously with 120% of his concentration. The death plane was mysterious and strange. The more mysterious something was, the more dangerous it was. Even Longao didn't dare to be careless. The death plane. In the so-called Death Plane, the most powerful race was the Death Clan, and the rest were some smaller races. These races were actually enslaved by the Death Clan. After walking for a long time, Longao suddenly came to a village. Ruoshui Village? Looking at the stone tablet outside the village, Longao was very surprised. Could it be that there are other races in the Death Plane? Longao didn't know anything about the Death Plane. Who are you? The two men who were guarding outside the village asked vigilantly when they saw Longao walking towards the village, step by step. Black Wolf, I'm looking for your chief. Wait a moment. The two could clearly feel the other party's strength. They didn't dare to be careless and immediately went back to report. After a short while, 3 people came out of the village. They were the chief of Ruoshui Village, Ruomu, a Starry Sky Realm Lord. The other 2 were his daughter, Ruolin, a level 9 Starry Sky Cultivator, and his nephew, a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor. May I know who you are? Why did you come to my Ruoshui Village? Ruomu looked like a weak scholar. He was curious because no stranger had come to Ruoshui Village for many years. I'm Black Wolf. I came to Ruoshui Village by accident. I want to ask you some questions. Please. Inside a large bungalow. Your Excellency Black Wolf, what do you want to ask? Ruomu was polite. If it were someone else, they wouldn't be so friendly when they sensed that Black Wolf was just a territory ancestor. However, Ruomu didn't want to provoke the Forbidden Land. He shouldn't underestimate the competence of a territory ancestor. Looking around, Longao's meaning was very simple. You 2 go out first. Yes, father. Ruolin stood up and left. As for Ruofeng, before he left, he coldly snorted and said unhappily, Who do you think you are? Your Excellency Black Wolf, please don't make any suggestions. He's just a child. Longao smiled and did not take it to heart. No matter where he went, he would encounter such things. As long as Ruofeng did not provoke him, he would definitely not bother with the other party. It's all right. Longao went straight to the point and said, Patriarch, I want to ask you a few things. I believe you should know about the Death Clan, right? Hearing the words Death Clan, Ruamu's face changed instantly. He was very curious. He didn't know why Black Wolf was asking about the Death Clan since he was from the Death Plane. Your Excellency Black Wolf, you're not from the Death Plane? That's right. I've just stepped into the Death Plane. Longao didn't plan to hide it. Since he asked about the Death Plane, as long as the other party wasn't a fool, they would definitely guess that he wasn't from the Death Plane. He was from the outside. Since that was the case, he might as well get straight to the point. It would save the other party a lot of trouble. I see. Your Excellency Black Wolf, forgive me for asking, but why do you want to know about the Death Clan? To tell you the truth, for some reason, my family lost a supreme treasure to the Death Clan. For my family, I must retrieve this treasure. Ruamu didn't say much and didn't continue to ask. Your Excellency Black Wolf, forgive me for being blunt. The Death Clan is the overlord of the Death Plane. They have many experts. With your strength alone, it'll be difficult to retrieve your treasure. Ruamu was very kind and Longao could clearly feel it. It's imperative. The purpose of entering the Death Plane this time was to help Feng Xiu retrieve the treasure. Since he had already promised the other party, there was no need to give up now. Hence, Longao had decided that no matter what happened, no matter what danger he would encounter, he must help Feng Xiu retrieve the treasure. The Death Clan is very far away from my Ruo Shui clan. However, with your speed, you should be able to reach there in one day. According to the information I know, the Death Clan has 10 titled World Kings, 100 Starry Sky World Kings, 1,000 Starry Sky World Lords, and over 10,000 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. 10 titled World Kings, 100 Starry Sky World Kings, 1,000 Starry Sky World Lords, and over 10,000 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. Hearing Ruamu's words, Longao was shocked. What kind of concept was that? With such terrifying strength, who in the vast starry sky could be a match for them? The heaven-devouring empire was already very powerful, but in front of the Death Clan, it was just a piece of trash. As long as the Death Clan wanted to, they could destroy the heaven-devouring empire anytime and anywhere. Longao finally understood why the Massacre Star ruler wanted to seal the Death Clan. With such terrifying strength, if they left the Death Plane and entered the vast starry sky, as long as the Death Clan liked to kill, it was easy to imagine what would happen. Looking at the shocked expression on Black Wolf's face, Ruamu felt helpless. The Death Clan was too powerful. Not to mention a single person, even a Starry Sky Empire or a titled World King would not dare to casually provoke the Death Clan. Your Excellency Black Wolf, do you still want to go to the Death Clan? I'm determined to succeed. Ruamu praised and said helplessly, Your Excellency Black Wolf, the Death Clan is a hornet's nest that cannot be touched. Moreover, it's in the Death Plane. If you anger the Death Clan, it will be difficult for you to leave. Ruamu was speaking from the bottom of his heart. In fact, the Water Clan and many other clans hated the Death Clan because in the Death Plane, all clans were slaves to the Death Clan. With a deep sigh, Ruamu stood up and said angrily, Your Excellency Black Wolf, you may not know, but the Death Clan is very cruel. There are countless small clans in the Death Plane, but they are all enslaved by the Death Clan and live in an abyss of suffering. Sigh. Longao already knew about the cruelty of the Death Clan. According to Feng Xiu, the Death Clan was extremely cruel in the past. They slaughtered all the cultivators in the starry sky. In the end, they were annihilated by the joint forces of many forces and were sealed by the Massacre Star ruler. Even so, after so many years of recuperation, the Death Clan's strength began to slowly recover and had grown to this extent. P.S. Send the second chapter here. Chapter 21-22. Why did Ruamu tell him this? Was there a hidden meaning in his words? However, one had to realize that he was just a passing traveler in the death plane. Patriarch Ruo, you and I are straightforward people. There's no need for this. Just say it. Alright, you're a straightforward person. Ruo Mu was helpless. Your Excellency Black Wolf, I don't know why, but I feel that there's something wrong with you. If you don't have full confidence, you won't step into the death plane rashly. Since that's the case, I want to ask for your help. Tell me. Longao didn't agree or refuse. What if Ruo Mu wanted his help and he couldn't do it? Did he have to help? He had to act according to his ability. Your Excellency Black Wolf, to be honest, if you step into the Death Clan, if you have the chance, please help me kill the son of the Death Clan Patriarch. Thank you. And it was a very difficult task. Longao also did not expect that the favor that Weak wanted him to help with would actually be this matter. Killing the son of the Death Clan Patriarch, one could imagine how difficult it was. Patriarch Ruo, do you think I can do it? Longao laughed. Ruo Mu thought too highly of him. Even if his strength increased greatly and his cultivation base broke through from the Starry Sky Domain Emperor to the Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, he still couldn't shake the Death Clan. The strength of the Death Clan was there for all to see. 10 titled Realm Kings, 100 Starry Sky Realm Kings, 1,000 Starry Sky Realm Lords, and 10,000 Starry Sky Territory Ancestors. What kind of concept was that? Any one of the Death Clan members wasn't someone he could deal with. A total of 10 titled Realm Kings, 100 Starry Sky Realm Kings, and thousands of Starry Sky Realm Lords. Your Excellency Black Wolf, I believe you have the ability. Ruo Mu knew very well that if it was an ordinary person, who would dare to step into the death plane casually to retrieve the divine weapon from the Death Clan, it was almost impossible. Since Black Wolf dared to enter the death plane and wanted to step into the Death Clan, it meant that he had full confidence. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Ruo Mu continued, Your Excellency Black Wolf, as long as you agree and help me kill this person, I can give you something. What was that? Longao did not speak because he also wanted to see what it was. If it was really valuable, then killing the Death Clan's Patriarch's son would not be impossible. Your Excellency Black Wolf, please follow me. Longao got up and left with Weakwood. Inside a very secluded wooden hut, there were powerful seals all around. Longao didn't know if Weaktree was a friend or foe. If Weaktree chose to seal him, then things would become very troublesome. Longao was not sure if Weakwood was from the Death Clan, but one had to know. In the Death Plane, the Deathkin was the most powerful existence. No matter which race it was, they had to submit to the Deathkin. Your Excellency Black Wolf, don't worry. Although our weak Water Clan has also submitted to the Death Clan, we are absolutely irreconcilable with them. He was being too petty. Longao followed Weaktree into the wooden hut with peace of mind. Your Excellency Black Wolf, it's this drop of water. Weaktree took out a small bottle from an empty space in the wooden hut and poured out a drop of black water from the bottle. What's this? Longao was very curious. This drop of water looked ordinary. He didn't know why Weaktree would give it to him. However, Longao was not a fool. He knew very well that this drop of water was definitely not ordinary. Brother Black Wolf, this drop of water was left behind by the Slaughter Star Dominator. It contains the power of the Slaughter Star Dominator. F***CK taken aback. Longao never thought that the origin of this drop of water would be so powerful. It was actually the power left behind by the Slaughter Star Dominator. Longao couldn't figure it out. Since Weaktree had the power of the drop of water left behind by the Slaughter Star Dominator, why did he not do it himself but borrow his power? Just thinking about it made one realize how powerful this droplet of water was. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Weaktree said helplessly, Your Excellency Black Wolf, I know what you're thinking. I'm also helpless. My situation is completely different from yours. Longao did not speak. He also wanted to see what Weak Tree would say. Your Excellency Black Wolf, for some reason, our Weak Water clan is the same as the Death clan. We can't leave the Death dimension. So if I take action, not only me, but even my clan will be in trouble. As the patriarch of the Weak Water clan, no matter what, I have to think of my clan first. Longao had already thought of this and sighed helplessly. But your situation is different from mine. You don't belong to the Death dimension at all. Settle your matter and help me kill this person. Then you can leave as you wish. Even if the Death clan wants to deal with you, they can't. I promise you. Longao was actually unwilling to agree. But after thinking about it, this drop of water was really important to him. Because this time, stepping into the Death clan was really a matter of life and death. If he could get this drop of water, it would be of great help to him. Thank you. Patriarch Weak, aren't you worried that I won't help you kill this person after taking this drop of water? Weak Tree smiled and said, Your Excellency Black Wolf, since I've chosen to give you this drop of water, then I've chosen to believe in you. I'm also confident in myself. If you're in danger or trouble, you can come to my Weak Water clan. Longao and Weak Tree did not continue to say anything. They did not leave the Weak Water clan immediately because Longao still did not fully understand the Death clan. In the following time, he wanted to know more about the Death clan. Know yourself, know your enemy, and you'll win every battle. Trash. Black Wolf walked around the Weak Water village. A young man walked towards him. It was none other than Weak Wind, Weak Tree's nephew and Weak Lin's cousin. You're not even as good as Trash. Black Wolf, stop right there. As the super genius of the Weak Water clan, his cultivation base had reached the peak of Territory Ancestor Realm. He could break through to the Starry Sky Territory Lord Realm at any time. Thus, Weak Wind didn't put Longao in his eyes. Unless he was a Starry Sky Territory Lord or above, he wouldn't mind at all. Weak Wind didn't like Longao. He was a typical bully. If Longao was from the Death clan, would Weak Wind still dare to act like that? You better get lost. Longao didn't want to stir up trouble, but he wasn't afraid of trouble. However, for Weak Tree's sake, he didn't want to tangle with Weak Wind too much. Ha ha ha, what an arrogant Trash. I'll let you win today. Without waiting for Weak Wind to finish speaking, a figure shot over from afar. Author's note: the third chapter has arrived. Chapter 21-23. Ruo-Lin approached him from afar. Cousin, what are you doing? Ruo-Lin grimaced. She had learned from her father about the agreement between Black Wolf and him. If Ruo-Fong were to deal with Hei Lang and mess up this matter, wouldn't his father's plan fall short of success? He chuckled. Cousin, it's nothing. This man is arrogant. I just want to teach him a lesson. Father wants to see you. Ruo-Lin was annoyed. Everyone knew that Ruo-Fong liked Ruo-Lin a lot. However, they didn't like each other. Ruo-Fong thought that since Ruo-Lin wanted to help Black Wolf, did she like him? You only know how to hide behind a woman. You're a piece of trash. Slap. Slap. In the next second before the two of them could react, the sound of two slaps rang out. They were dumbstruck. Ruo-Fong covered his face. He couldn't believe it. The other had slapped him twice. Was it true? If he hadn't experienced it himself, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Black Wolf, you're courting death. Ruo-Fong had lost his face. He didn't care about anything else. Even if his cousin was in front of him, he would still attack. Even Ruo-Lin couldn't believe it. Ruo-Lin had never thought that Black Wolf would slap her cousin's face at this moment. Even if her cousin was wrong, Black Wolf had crossed the line. Ruo-Lin was a little bit angry. Although Black Wolf had an agreement with her father, if she didn't teach him a lesson, what would happen to her cousin's face? Ruo-Lin was partial to Ruo-Fong. They were both territory ancestors of Starry Sky, but Ruofeng was at the peak of territory ancestor realm. Under normal circumstances, Black Wolf wasn't Ruofeng's equal opponent. And the result? The two of them had a fierce battle. Because of Ruomu, Longao wouldn't kill Ruofeng. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. At the same level, Longao wasn't afraid of anyone. Not to mention the territory ancestors of Starry Sky, Longao wasn't even afraid of the territory masters of Starry Sky. Not to mention his own strength, just the two Starry Sky corpse demons alone could easily deal with Ruofeng. Because of this, if he wanted to end the battle quickly, there was only one move. Time imprisonment, one of the sure kill skills. Longao's speed was very fast. With the help of time imprisonment, he had already gained the upper hand. Ruofeng, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly felt that his body had been forcibly frozen. His expression instantly changed as he could not figure out how the other party had done it. "Mr. Blackwolf, please show mercy." Ruolin was just a grade 9 Starry Sky cultivator, so even if she wanted to intervene, she was powerless. "Who's trash?" Longao's face was full of contempt and ridicule. He said contemptuously, "It's important to know one's limit. If I want to kill you, I can do it in a matter of minutes." With the time imprisonment gone, Ruofeng could move freely. Even now, Ruofeng still had some lingering fear. Ruofeng was very clear that if Black Wolf had really attacked just now, he would have died without a doubt. Trash. Longao turned around and left. Shortly after, he disappeared without a trace. Looking at his disappearing figure, both Ruofeng and Ruolin's faces darkened. "Cousin, how did Hei Lang do it just now?" Until now, Ruolin was still curious as she didn't know how Black Wolf had done it. Not to mention the Starry Sky Territory ancestor, even the Starry Sky Territory Lord couldn't confine someone's body. "I don't know. But from what I could sense, when Black Wolf confined my body, it seemed to be time imprisonment." Time imprisonment? Ruolin was dumbstruck because she understood what time imprisonment meant. The two of them didn't dare to beat around the bush. They immediately found the patriarch, Ruomu, and went straight to the point. They told him everything that had happened before. After listening to them, Ruomu's face became stern. However, after thinking for a while, he smiled and said, "Ruofeng, you should restrain yourself. Although Black Wolf is just a Starry Sky Territory ancestor, his competence isn't simple." Seeing their patriarch's attitude, the two of them were curious as they didn't know why their patriarch was like that. However, they didn't ask because they knew what they should ask and what they shouldn't. Ruomu knew Longao's competence, so he wasn't worried or enraged. Quite the contrary, he was excited. Because the stronger Longao was, the better it would be for him. Except for the three of them, no one in the entire Ruo Water tribe knew about Black Wolf's competence because Ruomu had sealed the news. Longao was arranged to stay in a nice room. "Long Fu, how much power does this drop of water contain?" Longao didn't go to the Death Tribe immediately. He wanted to see how much power was contained in this drop of water that Ruomu had given him. This was because Longao was very clear in his heart that stepping into the Death Clan this time was a narrow escape. If the power contained in this water droplet was really strong, then it would be of great help to him. "Master, this drop of water was left by the Slaughter Starry Sky ruler. Although it's just a drop of water, it contains a tremendous amount of power. According to my senses, if nothing unexpected happens, this drop of water is enough to kill a titled world king." It seemed that Ruomu was telling the truth. This drop of water didn't only contain the power left by the Slaughter Starry Sky ruler, but it was also powerful enough to kill a titled world king. If this was the case, Shi Yen would have more confidence in going to the Death Valley. "Master, unless it's a last resort, you shouldn't use the power of this drop of water." "What do you mean?" Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Long Fu meant. Since he had this drop of water, why couldn't he use it casually? Master, there's something you don't know. This water droplet is extremely powerful. If you casually use it, it will definitely trigger the seal of the death plane. When that time comes, even if you can complete your task, you won't be able to leave this place. Seal? Yes, seal. Once the power of the drop of water activates the seal of the death plane will automatically seal you. At that time, your situation will be very troublesome. Although I don't know if my guess is correct, I feel that Ruamu isn't simple. So, Master, you must be careful of him. Longao knew that if he didn't have full confidence, Long Fu wouldn't have casually spoken. Was there really something fishy about Ruamu? If so, then he really had to be careful. Long Fu, if there's anything you want to say, just say it. Longao didn't know why, but he had a feeling that Long Fu was implying something. P.S. The 4th chapter has been delivered. My head hurts. The 5th chapter will be added tomorrow. The 6th chapter will be updated tomorrow. Everyone, please forgive me. Little 9 didn't deliberately not write the 5th chapter. Sorry. Chapter 21-24. Master, Ruamu's strength shouldn't be underestimated. There was a hidden meaning in his words. Was Ruamu not a starry sky sector lord? If that was the case, Ruamu was really not simple because even he could not sense anything wrong with Ruamu. Long Fu, even you can't sense Ruamu's true strength? Yes. He was even more surprised. With the water droplet, Longao had more or less confidence. After a short rest, he immediately left Rua Shui village and headed toward the Death Clan. Before leaving, Ruamu gave Longao a map. If he hurried according to the map, it would save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. The Death Clan was the absolute overlord of the Death Plane. In the past, the Death Clan was extremely powerful and could even compete with the Lun Clan. One could imagine how powerful the Death Clan was. Due to the previous destruction and the seal of the Starry Sky ruler, the Death Clan was unable to recover. Even so, after so many years of recuperation, the Death Clan had recovered 1/10 of their strength. 10 titled Realm Kings, 100 Starry Sky Realm Kings, 1,000 Starry Sky Realm Lords, and tens of thousands of Starry Sky Territory ancestors. If the Death Clan was at its peak, this number would be 10 times more. The Death Clan was located in the center of the Death Plane and was also the forbidden area of the Death Plane. Without the summons of the Death Clan, no matter who it was, no matter which race it was, would dare to step into the Death Clan's territory. Not only that, every once in a while, the Death Clan would slaughter the surrounding races because the Death Clan was an extremely ferocious race. After several hours of hurrying, Longao finally arrived at the Death Clan's ruling sphere of influence. He did not step into the Death Clan. Master, hurry up and leave this place. You have been locked on. Ah. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked. He was already careful enough. Before coming, he had completely concealed his aura. Under normal circumstances, as long as he did not step into the Death Valley, it would be difficult to lock on to his location. But the result? Without any hesitation, Longao knew very well that the Death Clan was definitely not simple since they could shake the vast starry sky. Just as Longao disappeared, 2 figures appeared at the same time. They were Zhong Yi and Qianlin, the 2 elders of the Death Clan, who were also titled elders. Just as the 2 of them were about to come out, they suddenly felt that something was wrong, so they took the opportunity to come over and see what was going on. The people of the Death Clan all had a common characteristic. As long as one was a member of the Death Clan, the power and bloodline in their body carried the aura of death. This was something that could not be faked by outsiders. This was also why the 2 of them had instantly sensed Longao's presence the moment he arrived at the Deathkin's territory. Did we sense it wrongly? That's impossible. If an outsider stepped into our territory, there's no way we wouldn't be able to sense it. Both of their faces were very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. Due to the Death Clan's rule and strength, no clan in the Death Plane dared to rashly provoke the Death Clan. All these years, no one had ever dared to step into the territory ruled by the Death Clan unless they were summoned by the Death Clan themselves. Looks like there's someone. However, he's moving very quickly. Even you and I can't lock onto his position. The two of them couldn't figure out how the other party could teleport. If it was an ordinary person, how could they avoid being locked onto by two titled world kings? It was all because of teleportation. They had to admit that teleportation was too powerful. The two of them didn't continue to stay. Looking at the two figures gradually disappearing, Longao's lips slowly curved into a sneer. Do you think it's that easy to lock onto my position? Longao didn't stay in the same place for long. Using teleportation, he constantly changed his position. This way, it wouldn't be easy for the people of the Death Clan to lock onto his position. Longao followed the two titled world kings and didn't step into the Death Clan's territory. He wanted to see where the two titled world kings were going. Longao didn't dare to follow too closely. No matter what, the two of them were titled world kings. If he was discovered by them, it would be troublesome. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Do you have the same feeling? Zhong-yi, you seem a little off today. I don't feel anything wrong. Qianlin was very curious. He really couldn't figure out what was going on with Zhong-yi today. She wasn't like the usual Zhong-yi. What was going on? Zhong-yi thought for a moment and said helplessly, I keep feeling that someone is following us. Potential was very surprised because he knew that Potential couldn't be so casual. Could someone really be following them? Thinking about it, it shouldn't be possible. With their strength, who in the Death Plane would dare to follow them? However, the two of them looked at each other and separated. Who should they follow? As if thinking of something, Longao chuckled and didn't move. He just stood there and watched. After a while, the two titled world kings returned. Seeing that there wasn't any movement, the two of them were very curious. Could they have sensed wrongly? The two of them felt helpless. This kind of situation had never happened in so many years. What's going on? There are two possibilities. Either we sensed wrongly, or the other party's speed and senses are very strong. In the Death Plane, besides my death race, there are no more than 10 races with titled world kings. These 10 races have all chosen to submit to us, so it's impossible. The two of them were very confident. In the Death Plane, there was no one who dared to provoke the death race. That was simply courting death, especially if someone dared to provoke the two of them. In the Death Plane, such a thing had never happened before. The only explanation was that the two of them sensed wrongly. Shrugging helplessly, the two of them chose to continue on their way. This time, Longao was even more cautious. Even so, he was still surprised that the two titled world king senses were so strong. Even though he was so far away, he was still almost sensed by them. Step by step, he followed them with 120% of his attention. The two of them didn't leave the death race's territory. Unknowingly, the two of them arrived at a desolate mountain range. This made Longao very curious. He didn't know why the two titled world kings had come here. As soon as they arrived at the desolate mountain range, the two of them immediately sat down and began cultivating. Cultivating here, what was the meaning of this? Longao was very surprised. This was because this was a desolate mountain range. Why did the two titled world kings choose to cultivate here? The death race's territory was so vast. Why didn't they choose to cultivate here instead of other places? It was really strange. P.S. Send the first chapter here. Chapter 21-25. Wait and see. Longao didn't dare to be careless. If his aura leaked out and he was discovered by the two titled world kings, he would be in big trouble. After waiting for an entire month, the two titled world kings stood up and left. After they left, Longao immediately went to the place where they cultivated. Long Fu, what's going on? Longao was very curious. He didn't know why the two titled world kings chose to cultivate here instead of in the death race. Master, this place is very strange. It seems, seeing Long Fu hesitating to speak, Longao became even more curious. Long Fu, tell me the truth. Longao's intuition told him that this place was definitely not simple. Master, this place seems to be the key to the seal of the Slaughter Star Ruler. Although cultivating here will be very fast, it is also very dangerous. If you are corroded by the Slaughter Star Ruler. Long Fu didn't finish speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. If the two titled world kings were corroded by the Slaughter Star Ruler, they would become tools of slaughter. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was very shocking. Longao had never imagined that this place was the key to the seal. In other words, death. If this place was destroyed, the seal would disappear and the death race would break out of the seal. At that time, who would be a match for the death race? Who are you? At this time, Qian Lin and Zhong Yi, who had just left, suddenly appeared. Black Wolf. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he was prepared to be discovered at any time. However, he didn't expect that the two titled world kings would use this move. His sudden return was indeed a surprise attack to him. Longao was prepared to leave at any time because the two of them were titled world kings. Whether it was Qian Lin or Zhong Yi, he couldn't deal with any one of them. Starry Sky Territory Ancestor? The two of them were very shocked because the other party was only a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, yet he was able to avoid their detection. What race are you? The two of them were very curious because the Deathkin was the absolute overlord of the Death Plane. No matter which race it was, they would not dare to casually provoke the Deathkin unless they were courting death. What does my race have to do with you? Arrogant. The two of them were a little dumbfounded. They didn't expect the other party to be so rude. His face instantly turned cold. As titled world kings, when had they ever been treated like this? How could they not be angry? The two of them looked at each other and saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. Before the two of them could make a move, Longao had already used the spatial teleportation to quickly leave. After a few teleportations, he had already disappeared. The two of them quickly chased after him. If they were to let him escape right under their noses, where would the two of them put their face? Perhaps the territory ancestor of the Starry Sky Territory clan was very strong in other clans, but in their eyes, the territory ancestor of the Starry Sky Territory clan was nothing. The speed of spatial teleportation was just too fast. Especially since Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through to Starry Sky Territory Ancestor, the power of spatial teleportation had doubled. Even a titled world king would not be able to catch up to Longao in a matter of minutes. The more they chased, the more anxious they became. As titled world kings, the two of them naturally knew the real reason why Longao's speed was so fast. Spatial teleportation was the true pinnacle of speed. Spatial teleportation was only in existence in legends because it was the pinnacle of speed. Very few people could condense this kind of divine ability. It was no wonder that with the other party's strength and speed, he could move so fast. Even with their strength and speed, they couldn't catch up to him in the shortest amount of time. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that someone could actually use spatial teleportation. What race was the other party from? Until now, the two of them still couldn't figure out how someone in the death plane dared to provoke the Deathkin. This was simply courting death. From the beginning to the end, the two of them never thought that the other party was not from the Deathkin's native race, but from outside. For so many years, No one had dared to step into the death plane. Longao didn't continue to enter the Deathkin's territory. Instead, he quickly flew in the opposite direction. After dodging left and right, he finally escaped the pursuit of the two titled World Kings. Only now did Longao let out a long sigh of relief. The most dangerous place was the safest place. Longao immediately returned to the place where the two of them had been cultivating. Even if you beat them to death, they probably wouldn't believe that he would be so bold as to return to their place of cultivation. Master, what are you doing here? Long Fu was very curious. This was the seal of the Starry Sky ruler. Master couldn't have returned to break the seal, right? Being able to guess Long Fu's thoughts, Longao smiled and said, Long Fu, although I can't cultivate here and absorb the slaughter energy here, it doesn't mean that others can't. Starry Sky Corp slaves? How could Long Fu not guess? This was because the two Starry Sky Corp slaves didn't fear the slaughter energy at all. No matter how much slaughter energy they absorbed, it didn't matter. In fact, the two Starry Sky Corp slaves could even borrow the slaughter energy here to break through to a higher realm. It had to be known that the two Starry Sky Corp slaves were both true Starry Sky World Kings. If they could borrow the slaughter energy and continue to break through, then the two Starry Sky Corp slaves could become Starry Sky World Kings. What sort of concept was this? That's right, these two Starry Sky Corp slaves. At this time, if the two Starry Sky Corp slaves can borrow the slaughter energy to break through from Starry Sky World King to Starry Sky World King, then it will be a great help to me. If my luck is good, then the two Starry Sky Corp slaves can reach the titled World King realm in one go. This would depend on whether or not his luck was good. If the two Starry Sky Corp slaves could really break through to the titled World King realm, then even if he entered the Deathkin's territory, his chances of successfully leaving would greatly increase. Master, you must be careful. You must not touch the seal. I understand. Regarding this point, Longao naturally knew it clearly. Without any hesitation, Longao immediately took out the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves from the Dragon Seal space. He prepared to let the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves absorb the slaughter energy in the surroundings, hoping that they could break through and become a Starry Sky World King or a titled World King. Master, although the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves can recklessly absorb the slaughter energy, there is still a consequence. Tell me about it. If the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves really absorb the slaughter energy, then if they aren't careful, the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves will be completely occupied by the slaughter energy and become Starry Sky Corp's slave. At that time, even Master would be afraid of the backlash. At that time, Master wouldn't be able to control the two Starry Sky Corp's slaves. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.